Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Melby Styles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Wind Rider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, theflatearthchannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
I just was laughing. So they're saying, I mean, I admit it, I would take the flight too. If I had the opportunity, why wouldn't you? I mean, I would do it, but it doesn't prove nothing. They're claiming that it proves a sphere.
It proves you can take a high flight. That's all.
Exactly.
Hold on. How do they say it's non sequitur unless they give an argument that goes alongside that? So why?
Well, Jem went into the pictures. They asked me my proof of flat Earth. I said I don't need proof. It's obvious, observably, now measurably flat. I said the burden of proof is on you. You have the astronomical claim that we're living on a ball. So where's your evidence? And Jem Panda was, we have pictures. And I think it was it, what's his name? Jasmine?
Okay.
The celestial poles in Australia.
Okay. Pictures of what?
Pictures from space of Earth.
Okay, so, and how does this prove Earth's a sphere? They break it down for you, or what?
Nathan, I can't debate that. That's 2015 nonsense. I was like, I can't do this,
But
guy. Celestial poles in Australia.
Did they present it to you? Did they say the pictures show X, therefore Earth's a sphere?
I think he was referencing pictures from NASA. I'm not sure. There was a couple of people talking at the same time. But what I got out of their proof of a sphere is Jem. I know he was saying pictures from space, NASA, and all of that stuff, which we debunked that because you can't have gas pressure out of a container. And I think it was Jazza saying the two celestial poles and Australia is his proof of sphere Earth. I can't do that, Nathan. That's 2015, 2016 arguments. I can't stay there more than a minute.
Sure, but currently...
So it's like, when you catch up, come back.
Thank you. Currently, there are people who are under the impression taking a trip to high altitude in a flight that's dropped off the belly of a jumbo will prove space and prove pictures of Earth from space. Is that what I've got so far from you, Neil?
Yeah, I think that's what they were getting at, basically.
Fine. Now, did they elaborate on what the pictures showed specifically in terms of the flight that's recently gone up, which they're excited about? What does that have in its pictures? Did they say?
The indications of curvature.
Ah, here we go. Finally got there. Curvature, you say? Whatever do you mean?
Nathan, I told you, they don't acknowledge the black swan.
Neil, you're not playing along and just telling me what they've told me. You're preempting the conversation, right? Think of yourself as an audience member, as I break character to explain this to you. right? The audience member doesn't need to hear what you don't accept or they don't accept. I just need you to answer me.
Okay, yes, the pictures they're saying prove a sphere.
Yeah, I got that bit. They say they saw curvature. Oh, really? Whatever do you mean, Neil? Curvature?
Yeah, they said they seen curvature from this high altitude, and that's indications of a sphere. So yeah, that's what they say.
I see. And what were they specifically indicating was this quote-unquote curvature?
Well, they were saying it's the horizon line.
Oh, finally we get there. Meanwhile, we don't have a geometric physical sphere edge for a horizon. To assert that it's physically bending into a spherical shape at altitude. The horizon is an apparent location where the sky appears to meet the ground or sea. It's not a physical geometric sphere edge to block boats and buildings. We've debunked that with the black swan. If the Earth is a sphere radius 3959, then every distance to the horizon, that'd be your geometric sphere edge, can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That's the geometric limitation of an Earth sphere radius 3959, and we have imagery that demonstrates beyond all certitude that it's beyond the physical geometric limitations of a sphere radius 3959. Therefore, the Earth is not a sphere, and the horizon is not physical. So when they say, I see curvature from Richard Branson's window, and they refer to that curvature as being the horizon, no, we've debunked it. It's not geometric, it's not physical, it's not capable of bending at altitude or blocking things in the distance. It's a non-physical, apparent location. We've debunked the horizon as Earth curve. Is that all they presented? Pictures of the horizon? Yeah, that's not Earth curve.
That's pretty good and very simplified from what we had like before. Me coming back again and just hearing it all out again.
Well, they also say the celestial poles. I mean, that was jazz, but that's assuming a sphere, right? If you're talking about celestial poles.
Is this still
Well,
in
I
reference
don't know what he
to?
means by Australia.
Is this still in reference to the images they're excited about, which would be the Richard Branson drop flight, high altitude imagery from there? Is that what this is in reference to when they beg the question of a south celestial sphere?
Well, let's not jump all over the place. I think that what you described with the horizon was really, really good. I mean, they can't use the horizon for anything anymore. I just realized that after you explained it. That is like, I don't know. It was pretty cool how you explained that.
You just
Because
realized that? Where have you been?
Yes, he did, Neil.
Oh,
Thank you for playing along so well to make it so much more concise. Neil.
yeah, that's pretty
I'm
good.
only having a kick at him.
You get it, Neil. I know you get it. And by asking you to play along, I'm not in any way implying or suggesting that you don't understand this stuff or that you should have done something that you didn't. That's not what I'm doing.
I can't be Baldwin. I just don't have it in me.
That's fine. For the audience's benefit, what Neil is saying is this argument where we have a bendy sphere physical edge to the horizon that's apparently the globe curving, he can't do that anymore because we don't have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon. We only have one horizon, and the horizon for a globe is physical and geometric and only exists in their maths. So arguing all day long about whether or not the horizon's bending is laughable to Neil, which is why his objections came when I'm trying to detail that for the audience.
Right.
Not that we've got one, this is only being recorded currently, but my words are now being spoken to somebody who's listening to this when it is, unless I fall out this window and this doesn't get published.
There'll be none of that.
There was a reason the black swan done me in. That's
Perfect
it.
timing. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, everything's based on that measurement and believing you can draw a tangent to the horizon, not a geometric horizon, to the horizon, and the horizon is geometric. That's what the entire globe is based on, not a second horizon you can't see. That's ridiculous.
Precisely. The maths is asserting a tangent point to do the geometry, and that tangent point, the point where the straight line they draw meets their assumed spherical bending edge surface, is their horizon. And to do their geometry, it requires that to be a tangent with a straight line drawn to it. Now, when they rebut the black swan and say it's refracted, that destroys their geometric ability to assert it's a physical edge getting in the way, because that requires a tangent drawing to it. What's a tangent? A straight line to the horizon. The tangent point claim to be blocking things in the distance. That's their Earth curve edge. It's what they claim bends when you go up high, as is detailed by these giddy idiots who are saying that they're seeing the horizon bend at altitude when we've debunked it as Earth curve. So no. But ultimately, their response to us putting it to those very people is to say, no, it's a refracted horizon. Like, well, then you can't do geometry anymore to assert it's an Earth curve edge physically getting in the way of stuff when you tell us how many feet and inches are blocked. That's based on it being a physical obstruction with a tangent point, straight line to it, not a bent line, refracted. That implodes the globe maths.
Yeah, and it also pisses in the face of every, sextant claim on a globe ever.
Almost everything dies with the black swan. And I think it was probably you, actually, John, rather than the other John, that sort of cemented this only recently. At first I'm like, yeah, how many things can we use the black swan to debunk? It almost tongue-in-cheek. And although I kind of got it at first, that it was very, very instrumental in destroying any globe faith, I didn't quite realise the wider reaching implications. And it's taken you going, no, well, this dies with it, and that dies with it, and this dies with it. And it was when I was writing it out to Dearth, which I mentioned about a week ago, and I was typing it out going, my God, it literally debunks everything to do with globe. They've got absolutely nothing left after the black swan. It is like the Black Plague. The terminology used by QE to describe it in 1st Jan 2020 was absolutely spot on.
Yeah, the modus POTUS, the modus POTUS that I said yesterday about, we measure it flat because it's flat. Like, that's all you need. If you know that, you can't live on a globe.
So if P then Q, P therefore Q. Yeah? If Earth is measurably flat, then Earth will be measured flat. If P then Q, P therefore Q. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that modus. I said that yesterday. It's perfect logic. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, Adam. Good to have you.
Yeah.
Did you see my latest thumbnail for Arwin?
Yeah, I was asking in chat. It was brilliant. I thought, my God, has he took it on board and actually done one?
Not at all. He will, though.
To the
I think he will.
extreme.
Now he's seen the success of it. But just so you know the backstory, I joined his show intentionally immediately as soon as he started going live. I said to him in chat, first thing I said, speak about Elon Musk and Britney Spears. Now, just for anybody who doesn't know this, just because it's gossip or tabloid worthy for a thumbnail, that's the only reason I did this. So Elon Musk is supporting the conservatorship, if that's the correct terminology, that Britney Spears is under. She's gone to court, tried to relinquish it, and not surprisingly, they've said no. It's like, no, you're under a legal conservatorship. Come and tell me you don't want to be under it anymore. I'm not surprised the judge threw it out or whatever they did. Anyway, without my offence to all Britney Spears fans out there, that's the predicament she finds herself in. It is very much a predicament for her. And people like Elon Musk have supported her endeavour to relinquish this agreement, or whatever you want to term it as, conservatorship, that she's currently
What does that
under.
mean?
It means that her father and someone else who I don't know is essentially in control of her life to the point where she's kept on birth control, for an example. So if she wanted to have a child, which she does, according to her, she's not allowed to. It's a bit like when you're a minor, your children are under your authority, right? You're responsible for them. But obviously when they hit a certain age, depends on the country, they become adults and you're no longer responsible for their actions. Well, under a conservatorship, you are responsible for their actions and in control of their actions. And that's precisely the situation that Britney's in.
How'd she get herself there, though? That's crazy.
Has to do with legal competency.
Meanwhile, now we've had the backstory. Elon Musk was in support of that. Now, there's an obvious sideline to us with Elon Musk, with him faking space the same as NASA do. and the current news about Branson reaching high altitudes with 1960s technology. Wonderful. So first thing I said to Alwyn was talk about it, and he was like, what about it? I'm like, do a quick Google search for it. He was like, oh yeah, conservative shit, yeah, it's terrible, blah, 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 blah. Talks about it for 2 minutes. I'm like, great, he said it now. I can go away and do my clickbait thumbnail, which is precisely what I did.
It's worked, Nate, because somebody's come into the chat saying, oh, I just came across it, and then started rambling with bits and bobs about Britney Spears and whether she's a man or a woman and a few other bits and bobs to do with it. So the bait worked, mate. He's pulled at least one person that engaged in chat.
It's been done for a point. I mean, I'm trying to illustrate this point to Arwin and myself, to be honest. I'm selling the idea to me because I haven't got time to do it, and weaseling in more time to do it, it's just seeming nigh on impossible. I did it yesterday, but I was doing it while I was doing other things. In other words, I'm doing it on top of something else I'm doing, which means I definitely haven't got time to make thumbnails for these shows, which is a shame. But by the same token, while I'm looking after the kids in the morning, while my wife's working, it's like this is a period where even though I'm doing things with the kids, I'm feeding them and getting them worksheets and finding them toys to play with, I can still do a thumbnail whilst listening to Arwin. That's not a bad overlap. Do you know what I mean? So I can do it for him, and I'm like, well, pay it forward. Hopefully, maybe someone has, and you being one of them, has made me thumbnails in the past, right, Adam? The one I use is your creation.
Little giggle.
So basically, you're doing more than pushing buttons nowadays.
I was just gonna say, thank God you only got to push a few buttons, Nathan.
I said this.
I tell you what, though, if it's working, if you look at Owen's figures, look, he's at 160s, 230s, 250s. Since he started it, 270 on Monday, on the first one. Then I refused to cook 358. I think that's one of his top views. And then yesterday, 309. The Branson pick. So we'll see where Elon and Brittany take him today.
Elon and Brittany will take him over the edge.
Hey Nathan, I got some pictures in Master B of the original and other X15s. Some images
okay,
from,
cool. Yeah, good stuff. Let's go and bring them up.
Adam,
I looked
you're
into
a
this
genius,
in
Adam.
2015. So it was when I was interviewing, one of my first interviewees on what was then known as Flat Earth UK was a guy called Fake Spaceman in Space. And he was taking me through all this information about the X-15 and the drop flights they did in the 60s, how high they went. Because back in 2015, we were sort of talking about the remnants of Branson doing this. We had a vague memory of it. You know what I mean? Anyway, okay, X-15, Advanced Research Airplane. Check out the 1960s font on that bad boy.
Anyone could do this. Just go to Google, type in X-15, and all kinds of things come up. So this was a good one to start with, X-15. The next picture, you got the pilot kneeling down, NASA Dryden Flight Research Center. So you got this nice photo up going here. Next picture shows it in the underwing hookup position as the larger plane takes it up to the high altitude before it starts its engines when they let go, so it can climb higher in altitude. Next picture kind of shows a drawing, and they got, of course, a sphere Earth under it. And the launch was from a B-52 at 45,000 feet, and it climbed up to 250,000 feet, speed of 3,500 miles per hour, and then it started to come down, and 200 miles was the whole distance of the flight, as you can see by the loop there. So this is nice imagery. Okay, so next picture. Oh my gosh, who took this picture?
Picture?
Yeah, who took this snapshot trying to fool me? If it's and you got a curved Earth behind this one, but who took this picture? If it's the only thing up there, who took this picture of it up there? And the next one, oh my gosh, who took this one? And they got all the graphs going. I mean, this is complete lunacy for people to think this is the actual background of this plane. Okay, and then the last one, what a crack up. Who took this picture, and why is that landmass covering almost a quarter of the Earth? It's so funny.
Again, I don't know if it was before you got here, we were discussing the assertion that this sphere edge, the horizon in this image, Well, we've
Yes.
debunked it. It's not a sphere edge. So the concern about whether or not this physical geometric sphere edge horizon that we are going to automatically reify and justify why it's bending, it's like, it's just the horizon. I mean, the horizon filmed through a fisheye will do that, but it doesn't mean it's bending physically. It doesn't mean anything. It's a non-actual apparent location. Apparent meaning not a physical location. Apparent based on how you view it. But it changes. It physically moves. Changes with the weather. It does all sorts of crazy things. It's not a physical sphere edge. But yet we feel the need, I don't, to justify why we've got this bendy horizon in this image. I don't feel the need to justify it in any way. It's just the horizon. Probably
Oh,
the
I know.
lens.
No, I know that, and the audience, obviously, who's been listening, perceives that as well. But let's just delve into this imagery that's set up to fool the sheep, all the NASA lovers. Now, it said that the plane let go of the X-15 at 45,000 feet. We're on the last picture, right? With the space, with the moon, and is that the one you're on?
I'm on the last one, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so if this thing was let go at 45,000 feet, and it climbed up to 250,000 feet, and they're saying this is real photo of it. And my question is, did they have two of them, and the guy turned around and took a snapshot? Are you kidding me? I mean, this is so phony. But the sheep need to see something curved underneath and in the background of a X-15, and they'll get fooled. Oh, yeah, look at that. They got a picture of it, but they forget to ask, you need a photographer. And where was that photographer taking this phony picture you could ever imagine?
Good stuff.
Hold on a minute. I thought that nobody claimed the horizon was Earth curve. What are you saying now?
Well, if you have a fisheye lens, it's concave, convex, and straight. It just depends at what time you want to take that picture.
I'm sure they'll have an answer for who took that picture.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They'll have an answer. In the meantime, they don't have our.
Exactly. Everything that didn't QE say that when he presented the black swan, that it was the ultimate killer?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to have R if you're on a sphere. And it's got to be observable at the mathematics that's attached to 3959. At 1 foot observer height, it has to be at 1.22 miles and no further. That's the death. It's over.
So the bet was how fast would they catch on? So if they're still talking about the horizon on Gem Pandas, then that means they still haven't got the black swan argument, and they might never get it. And those are anti-flat earthers, I believe.
Yeah, there's no converting them.
Well, that was my point when I said that you're gonna, if you understand the black swan, you can't be a glober. You can't even be an anti-flat earther.
A moment of silence for the death of the ball.
Well, it is the death, and what can they do from here? They can't do anything. They just could deny it. They deny the black swan. They say it's an anomaly, or it's. My son says it's not. He don't believe the picture.
No, he doesn't believe the radius.
Yeah, and that too. That too.
Does he think National Geographic is lying to him?
I don't know.
That's a black swan too. There's probably more black swan pictures than there are claimed black swan pictures.
Absolutely.
What the hell does that mean? Like, if you're lucky enough to take a picture of the horizon when it's close enough to what you think the horizon should be on a sphere, you know, what a Texas sharpshooter fallacy, and it probably is almost impossible to catch that picture, you know.
The only way you can catch that picture is if the fog is exactly at 1.22 miles and you take it from 1 foot high observer position and say, that's it. And then 2 hours later when the fog clears, well, that wasn't it. It's all optical.
And so is the Coriolis. It's an optical illusion. Earth-based Coriolis doesn't even exist. But what you see on a roundabout is an optical illusion.
Earth would have to have a radius for there to be Earth-based Coriolis. You know, that's a quick way to kill that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Everything.
Yeah.
That's
Everything
why
dies.
everything dies without the R.
Everything dies with R. The R value that they don't have. R, 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 R.
Wow. Get some cereal.
Some serious problem, isn't
You think?
it? Yeah.
Without the R, you have nothing.
I love
R,
the way
R, 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 R.
I like the way he said it. So serious problem. Sounds like a psychiatrist with his final recommendation. Sounds like you got
Final-
a serious problem.
Final diagnosis, you have a serious problem.
Can we talk about this on
Was that-
the live show about the X15?
Yeah, let's start with Ram saying, sounds like you guys have a serious problem.
Is that the new thumb for today? You change that, mate.
Yeah, it's just easier to Skype it myself and then save it on the PC, make it on the iPad, Skype it myself, etc. Why have I spelled something wrong?
No, I just thought it was funny that we said that. I knew you are giving it a whirl, see how it does. I think it's nice, mate. When you've got so many shows as yours as well, just to have those.
Speaking of Nathan's show, I feel honored because somebody recognized my voice and said, "You're part of the Nathan Oakley panel, aren't you? I recognize your voice."
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by the Adam Meakin, Neil, 10th Man, father of a stolen child, otherwise known as Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Afternoon, everyone.
Good. Good morning. Good morning. I'd like the pharmacist, Adam Meakin, to tell the ballers what an R deficiency could lead to.
Hello, guys.
Can lead to arthritis.
Yeah.
Good one, Nathan.
I can't top that, I don't think.
No, that was good. That was good.
Anemia was where I was headed.
So in the pre-show, we were discussing the 1960s drop launches into high altitude with parabolic manoeuvres, graciously presented by 10th Man and his images that we've gone through in the pre-show. But so that there's a bit of a break between that and anybody who's just heard it already, we're going to do housekeeping as we didn't do it yesterday, and then we'll get back onto that subject. Obviously, there's a lot of people cooing over the Richard Branson high altitude flights, so I think it's worthy of a bit more discussion. Anyway, in the meantime, any evidence of, poignant to the subject, side note, any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curvature?
No, the horizon's an apparent position.
How do you derive a radius from an apparent position then?
You don't.
It will always exist in the model.
It only exists in the maths. And no, you don't derive anything from a non-tangent based horizon because you need to draw a straight line to it.
It requires some consideration.
So just for clarity, before we move on from this housekeeping subject, the horizon is not a physical geometric sphere edge to block things or bend at altitude. We've debunked it with an argument called the black swan. Any evidence of the R value, that's Earth radius?
No,
Well, hold on a sec. Every claim that they have is based on R. So there's got to be evidence for it, right?
Well, only indirect evidence, though. And yes, you will always end up with a presupposition, really, but you don't have to start out with it.
Well, this is where
So
we're going
does
to be...
the-
I'll just say this for the audience's benefit. This is where we're going to be ripping apart some of the claims that are coming from the high-altitude Richard Branson flights. And our admiration will come and our jealousy will come because we're all in agreement that we'd like to do it. So that will come as well. But in terms of the assertions, there is no physical geometric sphere edge horizon. That only exists in globe maths.
Well, I want to clarify that with regards to Branson. I'm going to jump in on the first question now. Neil deGrasse Tyson says you won't see curvature up there. So I'm just wondering, do the Virgin Galactic guys claim you will see curvature of the Earth up there? I'm not got clarity on whether they're claiming that.
Yeah, so fortunately, Neil was really conciliatory, played along beautifully, and told us all about how the guys over at whatever server, I don't know, were talking about the pictures from the high altitude trip and how that's Earth curve. So yes.
No, not all people saying, oh, look, there's Branson, look out the window, it's curvy, like the Baumgartner shot. Is Branson saying he'll take you up to see the curvature? Because that would be a contradiction of one of the high priests, Neil. He's categorically stated even that you won't see curvature, it's flat.
Almost. So you're buying into the magic trick that Richard Branson's
No.
forcing upon both sides then?
No, I'm wondering whether he's contradicting Neil deGrasse, not am I accepting the double speak? Yeah. I'm wondering whether because we said yesterday with regards to their disclaimers, they'll take you past the Kármán line, theoretically space. Well, that's just an arbitrary distance they name. So you can do that. There's no legal disclaimer there. But is he going against a high priest rhetoric is what I'm saying by claiming you will see Earth curve?
It's certainly part of the imagery from the 60s.
isn't there high definition video and pictures of
You're
this
missing his point.
flight?
Right,
Just happened a few
Let me
days ago?
re-clarify.
Can I address that?
Hello. So it's clear. Adam's saying, is Richard Branson punting, selling the notion that you can go up on his trip and see, quote, Earth curve? Is that what he's punting or not, is what Adam's asking.
Not can you look at the picture and claim it's Earth curve? Is that part of his sales pitch?
I haven't heard him mention that, and I watched the whole live thing. Might claim it afterward at some point, but it was not part of the scenario. that I've
Perfect.
heard.
Anybody out there aware of any claims made by Branson that you can go up and see, quote, Earth curve? Anybody at all? If not, we'll assume not, because so far as I can dig into, there's been no claims I've got any objection to. I don't know if anybody else says, no, he's made this claim. Somebody said he went beyond the Kármán line. I had a look in that. No, he hasn't said that. It doesn't seem like he's aiming to go beyond what we experience in terms of the gas pressure that we experience. Now, if someone can correct me on that, I'll be happy to be corrected. But so far, so good. As far as I can tell, it's left to your devices to extrapolate out Earth curve out the windows if you're going to do that.
I had a question about that. When Neil deGrasse Tyson said that you can't see the curve from that beach ball, did he actually mention any kind of distance or related to like the Kármán line or anything where you would be able to see it? Or did he just completely leave that out?
Well,
Because
no,
I
he
don't
kind of
remember him saying that there was a certain distance after which you could see it. He didn't mention that.
Well, I mean, it's part of their maths, you realise. That's also doublespeak. It's a clever trick, because what he's doing is he's saying you can't see it from this altitude, yet simultaneously you've got Earth curve mathematics that say you can see it from the ground. And there's an advanced tab that recently Adam used a composite to his ends in terms of his calculations for how much it should bend from the ground in this composite. And it's also calculable, as I say, in the advanced tab of Metabunk's Earth curve calculator. Or let's give it its proper title, the Begging the Question Proof of Nothing Perspective Hijacking Earth Curve Calculator. Well, yeah, you've got two magic tricks going on. One is to say that when he says that stuff is flat, this is the clip we're talking about, he slaps the beach ball, which has automatically got you to reify as the ground beneath your feet, even though it's a bloody beach ball, spherical in shape. Well, he says you can't see Earth curve from an inch above the beach ball, or whatever he says is the scale equivalent. Well, when he's saying you can't see Earth curve from an inch above the beach ball, he means you can't see an Earth curve physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon from 1 inch above the beach ball. Well, okay, so we're going to be assuming that the horizon's Earth curve then, like it would be for an ant on a beach ball. There'd be an edge to the ball that it couldn't see past, and that would be the ant's geometric horizon on that beach ball. Well, that's not to say that it wouldn't still have a limit if you were out at the ocean and you held the ball up, and beyond that ball it's still going to have a horizon where the sky and land or sea appear to meet. It's just you've also got a geometric horizon because you're on a bloody ball. You would be necessitated to have a geometric horizon if you were on a ball. If we were on a ball, Earth, a sphere, we would have a geometric limitation to our view. It's the very thing asserted in their Earth curve maths. You just don't have that. It's not an actual position. So concerning yourself with this bend in this picture and how bendy it is, or whether or not you're high enough to see it bend, is to automatically reify the horizon into a physical edge to a sphere. And it isn't.
So I've got a couple of bits. Have you got the screen share up now?
I can take off my Skype imagery of the X15 over a curve and share your
This is where I've got, because it was me that said they were claiming space, and I know I'd read it somewhere, but this is the new Shepherd and Virgins. So you got your Kármán line, look, internationally recognised as where space is, but we've also got 80.5, which would include the Virgin, above sea level, where space begins as recognised by the FAA and NASA. So they've dropped the level so they can get there, I think, by the sounds of it.
Hold on, that contradicts something I understood to be true. What did you say they classify as space? Because I've seen NASA classify it as 0, ground level is the beginning of space. So
I'm only going on this. So it's saying here that the FAA and NASA recognise it as 80.5 kilometres above sea level. And then Kármán line, the old one, is the internationally recognised.
I gotcha. So this seems like just being tricky with the words for the sake of his marketing. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'm going to space according to NASA definitions, but not by internationally recognised definitions.
All of the above, assuming that the sky is a vacuum in violation of the second law of thermodynamics. We might as well add that here. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
Yeah, it begins here, look. Either this blue line or this blue line is where the magic begins.
Magic? No, containment. To have gas pressure, not magic. It's talking
no,
about where the magic
there's
begins.
definitely no containment, look, because something solid's going up and through. Look. So there's definitely no. So it's either there is no containment there, or that isn't where suddenly a vacuum begins.
The whole suddenly a vacuum begins, or even if they claim, well, it's gradiated, it's not suddenly. Like no. No
Right.
gas would be here if the sky was a vacuum.
You can have the word gradually becomes a vacuum. It's just as nonsensical. It's fine.
It still violates the second law. It's
Yeah.
just a sidestep into a delta of gas pressure when we ask how you can have it in the first place. You know, if you've got this notion that the black area in this image that 10th Man provided of the X15, if you want to claim that that area, this black bit, is a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum, well, you see all this is all high pressure gas. And what it would want to do is evacuate. Now, if you want to assume that this little blue thin layer here is just some arbitrary designation for where the gas stops escaping into whatever volume it's got, yeah, that's a violation of natural law to assume that this is 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. It's absurd.
Look at the red lines, Nathan, on the diagram. You know, on the rocket side, on the left side, the New Shepard. Look at this is what it's suggesting the path of the gas particles is. Look, they hit the collision. Up they go, and then they're running out. Look, and this one's got a bit more energy, but it's running out here and back down they come. It's an example of the farcicalness of the claim.
Well, they've got gas doing this parabolic manoeuvre in their assumption of gravity, which doesn't actually have any force attributable to it. But they assume that gas goes up to a certain height and goes, you know what, I'm going to sod this. I'm not going to keep going. Why would I do that into this available volume? You know what I mean?
That's exactly that. I've completely run out of kinetic energies. I hit the apogee point here, so I've got no other place to go. Even as a gas molecule, I've got to fall back down to Earth. That's their claim.
I'm happy to stick with these specifically, unless you want to throw axial rotation in before we jump to 10th Man's presentation. But just with those couple of housekeeping questions, we're right on topic and all warmed up for 10th Man to go through what he did in the pre-show. Are you up for that, 10th?
Yeah, let me just get the slides in order here. I'm ready.
Okay, I'll start on the slide that you started on last time, which was the X15 Advanced Research Airplane.
Perfect. Yeah, anyone could do this. Just go to Google, hit X15. I remember this, being my age, and here we go. So the X15, back in the day. Here's the first picture of the pilot, NASA Dryden Flight Research Center, as you can see. Pete Knight is the pilot. Then you've got the B-52, the next picture, and the X-15 is attached underneath one of the wings. I believe we're going to see that they went up to about 45,000 feet before it was released. Here's an imagery showing that B-52 at 45,000 feet. And then once the X-15 is released, its rockets start to burn, and it climbs up to 250,000 feet. And then it comes back down in its descent. Takes about 3 minutes, as seen there, and covers about 200 miles. And of course, conveniently, they got a sphere globe underneath it as a drawing. And then we come to this next picture, which is very interesting because I'd like to know who took this picture, if it is a picture, or is this like CGI? Because if the X-15 is let loose, it's going up, or is this on its descent down, and is the rocket still on? So this picture is like, who took it? Well, how about this one? This one, definitely, the next one, it's going up. So we know that this is climbing to 250,000 feet. Well, who took that picture? If the B-52 is the plane that releases it, there is no other plane or jet in the sky other than the X-15. Who took this picture with a curved Earth behind it? And they all signed it. Total fakery here. And then this next one, the last one. Now this is way up there. You could see the edge of space. But that curvature is so phony because look at the land underneath it. How much of the Earth should you see? And it looks like they're over a very small part of the Earth there by the little features. So obviously, if you believe that this is real, then there's no hope for you.
Over planet New Orleans Parish.
Yeah.
So yeah, this technology is from the 60s. It's been done before, going up high. Whoopie doo. It's not exactly a miracle that he's doing this. The extrapolations that people take from it, which is to assert that you've got a physical bend in the horizon, which is not a sphere edge from a height that's already been achieved long ago, it's not really any sort of revelation. So the fact that there's so many people in my comments cooing about this is kind of laughable, really. I don't really, other than the explanation I had from Neil in the pre-show about people saying, yeah, we go up high and we've got pictures of our reified physical geometric sphere edge horizon. It's like, what else have you got other than the assumption of a sky vacuum in violation of natural law? What else have you really got from this? Nothing.
Nathan, I just put up 4 more pictures just as a contrast.
Yeah, they're up.
All right, so you can see this high altitude balloon with the imagery of a little stick figure guy, whatever. Look at the background there. Next picture. Low concave here. What happened to that nice curve?
It never was physical, concave or otherwise. It was never physical to begin with, but feel free, carry on. My bad.
No, I agree. That I'm glad you said that, because when you have a fisheye lens and it moves and bobs, you can catch it convex, concave, or straight. If your lens is not going to do that, then you actually have something that at least is part of reality, because that's a real photograph, as you can see here with the little teddy bear or whatever that is. And then the next picture, I can't make out the writing, but this is an older one, but same thing. How in the world can you have a curved Earth and all the X-15 backgrounds, and then when you take a high altitude balloon, you don't even see a curve? In fact, you see it kind of warping every now and then. Wake up. Please wake up.
Okay, so quick shout out to Mark, is it Clarkson? Who says, I'm trying to get my head around this pressure gradient that keeps being asserted. Sorry if this has been covered. No, don't apologise. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Mike. Gas pressure gradient is a delta of gas pressure. So first you have to have gas pressure, then you can have a gas pressure gradient. Our question, presumably has been put by you to an anti-flat earther, is how can you have gas pressure in the first place without a container? So their response is to take it to a delta of gas pressure that they already assume they have, ignoring the question, how have you achieved gas pressure if the sky is a vacuum? That would be a space for it to fill. And they say, well, we've got a gas pressure, negating your question, gradient, delta of gas pressure they haven't explained yet. So if you are, or if you have the rebuttal of, well, we have a gas pressure gradient, your response is no. My question is, how did we achieve gas pressure in the first instance? How do you get the gas pressure in the first place if the sky is a vacuum? So if you want to conceptualize this, Mike, given that you've spent £5 on this super chat, thank you very much again. If you're a fledgling Earth in a heliocentric, assumed to be spherical world of vacuum, and there is no gas pressure yet, now by whatever means, the first gas particle emerges from the ground. What's it going to do? Well, it's just going to follow gas behaviour. That's what it is gas. So it's just going to do what gas does. That would be to say that it emerges from the ground. In whatever direction it comes out, it will continue in that direction until it either collides with something, or that's it. It just has to collide with something, or it just keeps going. So that first gas particle comes out of the fledgling heliocentric bullshit sphere Earth and heads out into the vacuum. Just keeps on going. At no point does it reach an arbitrary position, say, here, and go, you know what, I'm not going to behave like gas anymore. I'm going to head on back down. That's not what gas does. So given that explanation, Mike, you'd never achieve gas pressure to then achieve the delta of gas pressure gradients. So the gas has got to be bouncing around for it to develop into a gradient. You first got to have gas pressure. That would be gas pressing And if there's nothing to press on, it's not pressing. So you've got no pressure. But they just skirt your question, skirt your issue with the second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum, by just assuming they've already got gas pressure because we're breathing it. And therefore, how do you, flat earther, explain the gradient? It's like, I don't. I want to know how we've got gas at all if the sky's a vacuum. We'd all be dead. So there you go, there's my explanation, and why you're getting it is because it's a straw man delta of the question you're asking. Just negates the question, assumes Earth can have gas pressure to develop into gradients to need an answer from you, when it wouldn't. It would just fill the vacuum of the sky. If it was a vacuum, it isn't. The sky vacuum is fake. Anyone want to add anything to this or on the X15 presentation?
Just one last slide, if you can show it.
Yeah, the curvy GoPro.
Yeah, so here it is, a high altitude balloon on its ascent, and obviously it hasn't gone high enough. And why is the Earth curving here? And why is it that when it's up there, wherever up there was, you know, hundreds of thousands of feet up, it's not curving?
Because it's an effect of
It's
the
the
lens.
camera.
I mean, what's not curving? You mean the edge of the view of this lens, which you could calculate based on things like the aperture, the diffraction limit that it's capable of resolving with the Rayleigh criterion. It's lens-based, it's optical. This line where the sky appears to meet the ground, it's nothing to do with any physicality that would bend, and everything to do with the optics that it's being viewed by. The limitation of that particular location, which is only apparent, is also governed by the optics and the conditions on the day. Sod all to do with Earth curve.
Yeah, it's all optics, it's all effect of the lens, but they use that magic trick to fool people.
Anybody know how long Branson's in the air in his drop flight in total?
Wasn't it like seconds? It wasn't very long.
Oh, 3 minutes, I thought.
3 minutes.
I believe it was 4 minutes of weightlessness, apparently.
We're getting a lot of numbers. 4 minutes of weightlessness, which means that after leaving the ground, just hint at where we're going with this. Any evidence of axial rotation of the airspace variety? And then we'll go on to this assertion that we see drift from the ground as things seem to drift away because we're turning beneath them on a spinning Earth. Obviously, we're going to see that effect in this flight, right? We're going to see it seem to drift away.
Need a radius for that.
Took the words out of John's mouth. He's still here.
I can't have him taking a credit all the time. I got to get some positive sayings in there.
He's not here.
Got numbers, Nath.
Oh, excellent. Here we go.
Branson stated the entire flight will take about 90 minutes, so an hour and a half, including the ascent up to launch position, release, flight to space, and glide back to Earth for a runway landing.
90 minutes, eh? Well, according to the claim that Earth turns...
22.5.
Say again?
22.5 degrees.
That's where he is. Okay.
Well, that's what he should experience, shouldn't it? In terms of in that hour, and if it's 15 degrees an hour, then it's 22.5 degrees of rotation in that hour and a half.
Indeed. Earth should be, according to the heliocentric claim that we have Coriolis effect, turning beneath this flight for us to observe it seem to drift away as we turn beneath it. That is what is claimed. Does that occur? I'll just answer, instead of the stony silence being left out there. No, Earth isn't turning underneath anything. Even though it's claimed to be turning underneath everything at 15 degrees an hour, like footballs and bullets. It's claimed Earth turns beneath them to give us Coriolis effect. That would be an effect that we see when things traversing an inertial reference frame from our vantage point seem to have a curved trajectory based on us turning beneath them. That doesn't happen. Any other evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? You're all super keen.
A ring laser gyroscope rotating perpendicular to the Earth.
That'd be a
Right.
claim that Earth's turning beneath the gyroscope, though, wouldn't it? Which would cause the same effect in Branson's flight, i.e. Earth turning underneath it in the 90 minutes that it's in the air. But that doesn't happen.
Right, and the North Pole is not in the United States either, so...
Yeah, there's no 15 degrees an hour drift observable from the ground because we're turning beneath anything. If there was, you'd launch a drone, it would hover in the air, and it would whiz away from you, seem to whiz away from you, at 1,000 miles an hour. Because you're turning beneath
but
it.
the air's moving with the Earth.
Maybe
so
if the
you're
drone was
moving
a
through the
holographic
air,
projection,
you're
then it
still
would turn.
attached.
Could try again, Rams.
Well, the air apparently is all attached to the Earth and rotating with it somehow. And so if you are still in the air, then you're still attached to the surface.
All right, there's 3
essentially.
problems with that. Number 1, no drift then, no Coriolis deviation. Number 2, that kind of craps all over Neil deGrasse Tyson's assertion that when you kick a football, it drifts through goalposts because Earth turned beneath it. From your vantage point in the sand, seeming to curve through, but actually just Earth turning beneath the ball, because obviously that happens. Yeah? Third, it violates a couple of natural laws. First and foremost, the first law of thermodynamics. To assert that Earth and atmosphere, an oxymoron, Earth doesn't take the shape... air doesn't take the shape of a sphere. Well, if you were to assert that it does and it tracks along with the ground beneath it as it spins at vast rates, 1,000 miles an hour on the equator, that would mean that the velocity of the air tracking with the ground beneath it is increasing velocity as it goes up in altitude. Absolutely absurd, violation of the first law of thermodynamics. Secondly, in that bracket of the third thing that it's screwed up with, no drift being the first, screws all over Neil deGrasse Tyson's assertion that you've got the drift for the ball to go through the goal. You know, I've forgotten the third point now in a second bracket because I've got so many things in my list that this is in violation of. You know, you've got to have drift. You haven't got it if you're asserting that it's all, that was it, velcroed to the ground. Gas is unbonded. So there's 4 issues. You don't have gas velcroed to Earth in violation of the first law, increasing velocity, and crapping all over Neil deGrasse Tyson's assertion that things leave the ground and drift because of it from your point on the stands. And it also craps all over the assertion we've got Coriolis effect. There you go. I summarised all 4 points. Thank God.
It's no good. That pretty much destroys that one, doesn't it?
But also the air layers would have to be traveling faster as you gained altitude.
That's what I mean when I say it's a first law of thermodynamics violation. They'd have to increase their velocity.
I think this is just a huge and obvious problem.
Well, in response to you, not really, because the globe claims we do have drift, and my response to you is a response to an anti-flat earther claim that we shouldn't see Coriolis effect. It's all travelling together, giving us absolutely no observable effect to observe, first of all, and contradicting the effect that we're supposed to see, 15 degrees an hour drift, and begs the question that we're turning with no discernible effect to notice with us turning, in violation of the first law of thermodynamics. So it's a bit of a clusterfuck from the anti-flat earth side. We've got to be honest about this now. It used to be able to be scrambled up like scrambled eggs by them when they came here and debated Coriolis effect, because they weren't debating Coriolis effect. They were actually arguing against it the whole time. But now that's all had some clarity given, we've swept up all the mess, and it's reasonably easy to concisely summarise how messed up their claims of us having Earth turn beneath things actually are. We're now back to the point where we can say, yeah, you going after Brian Mullen's job, George Netanyahu, because he asserted that Earth should be turning beneath us to give us 15 degrees an hour drift we don't see. Yeah, that's no longer tolerable to just say, don't you understand how Earth moves with everything else and it conserves momentum? Because that's an anti-flat Earth claim now, isn't it, George? You went after a man for an anti-flat Earth claim that pisses in the face of globe claims that we have drift. Something that Brian was pointing out we don't have. Yeah. That's why I had to keep that particular argument had to be kept well under wraps, and if anybody with any degree of intelligence tried to challenge it, they had to go after that person pretty swiftly, because that scrambled eggs needed to stay scrambled without any clarity being given. Yep, so they had to go through extreme lengths back in the day when it came to Coriolis effect. Now we just say, you globers, people who think you're on a globe, not anti-flat earthers who just hate us, but people who actually think they're on a globe, should have Earth turning beneath things to give you 15 degrees an hour drift. We'd notice that. Your drone would drift away at 1,000 miles an hour on the equator, and it doesn't. Any evidence of the distance to the sun? As we are kind of going through housekeeping, albeit at a mellow rate.
What is the sun?
I don't know. That's me.
How can we measure the distance to something
We
if we don't know
can't.
what it is?
They assume
You need a
Venus has
radius
got the
for
same
that,
R
right?
value as
Also need
Earth.
a radius?
Yeah, they need a radius, exactly.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah, they need an Earth radius, which is assumed and debunked, and they no longer have a physical geometric sphere edge to measure tangents to give them the R value, which they superimpose on Venus. If you're a newbie watching, ever wonder why they call Venus Earth's twin? Christian Huygens arbitrarily assigned our R value, which is debunked by the Black Swan, to Venus, so they could use Kepler's third law and scale it, and give you the distance to the Sun at 93 million miles. Also, the speed of light, with your 1 AU. Yeah, that convention's been crapped all over recently as well, thanks to MC McBugger-eating idiot and quantum erasers ripping apart of their assertions about this one-way speed of light. They don't have it. It's a convention that they start working outside of when they say we can track the distances when we get radar bounce. It's like, really? When you see a bit of fuzz in the signal, Bob from JPL says that's definitely the return signal at the timing I'm expecting, based on a heliocentric R value that gives me that timing and the AU measurement. It's a bit of a mess for heliocentrists at the moment, really. They don't have anything. It's all dead because of the R value being debunked by the Black Swan. Very amusing that it is for me.
Yeah, the R value seems to come up in a lot of these arguments, and it ends it.
Yep. It used to be that when we thought we'd got to that point last time, when Mick West admitted that they begged the question and just assumed R regardless, i.e. every argument for a globe starts with an assumption of R, their rebuttal was to say, well, of course we just beg the question. Or to paraphrase, well, we already know we're on a sphere. i.e. I'm going to use a logical fallacy because I'm already assuming my outcome, and that's perfectly reasonable. That's what they told us. You know, I was aghast at the time. I'm like, oh, this is the end of the argument. They've admitted they're begging the question. They're just assuming their outcome. They automatically assume they're on a sphere. But to highlight to them that you're automatically assuming a sphere, they just went, yeah, and? So we had to go in right up their level, dig in with them, with their assumption in mind of the R value, and debunk it within their begging the question fallacy, which is way beyond anything anybody would ever have to do in a debate normally. But here we are, we've got everyone with their sphere belief, and, you know, that's held fairly deep and dear to most people, so you can't really blame them for holding on to that logical fallacy as a last-ditch attempt to believe they're standing on a spherical surface. You're not, by the way. Earth's obviously unobservably flat.
Well, it's kind of that, but it's also the other part where pride kicks in. When these same people are into challenging other falsehoods, do not even attempt to challenge this one when proven that it's false because they don't have R. And it's as if some defensive mechanism pops up out of people who would normally be curious to say, what did you say? And oh my gosh, you know, instead of that, they immediately resist, they immediately fight, because it's such a big thing that if they got fooled on this one, how do they look?
I know why. It's the way they made it sound. Flat Earth. You see the boat falling off the edge when you went to school and everybody laughed. It's a joke. It's a mockery.
Oh, I could kiss you, Neil. That was perfect. That's a brilliant segue into the double-speak rhetoric of the Flat Earth Society with their boat falling over a pizza pie edge that they assert we claim as a flat Earth straw man. Basically, we don't claim that. But that's what the controlled up narrative would have you believe we as flat earthers assert the Earth to be, with boats falling off the edge of it. Meanwhile, in literal terms, the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculators literally assert that boats go over the edge of a sphere Earth. So while we, formerly, because we highlight it here, were mocked for having boats that go over edges. What? I don't have a boat. What are you talking about? Here it says it, Flat Earth Society say you, a flat earther, have a boat falling over the edge, you idiot. No. In contrast, you reified the horizon, globe-believing idiot, into a physical sphere edge for boats to fall over. So in fact, it's you globe-believing clown, that has boats falling over edges, and we've debunked your horizon as being an edge for boats to fall over. But you actually do have boats falling over edges if you're a globe believer. It's right there in your Earth curve maths. You ask us to tell you how many feet and inches are missing from the bottom of the boat as it's gone over your sphere edge. Even though that's not a physical location to block things, it doesn't have any physical attributes, and we've debunked the geometry that's asserted when you claim it's blocking things. Because you don't have a physical tangent anymore, we've debunked it with the black swan. But meanwhile, you do actually have boats going over an edge, globe-believing idiots. Not us. That's just a straw man controlled up narrative that idiots put out, and so you can laugh at us when you've actually got the one with the boats falling over edges. Just so you know.
Well,
They
I was
do
just
it with-
saying, hold on 1 second. That it always amazed me that a guy like Ken Hovind don't jump on that. And I think Kent is right. It's all about pride. Got to learn how to swallow that pride and jump in there, and don't worry that you're going to be mocked, because we're mocking them now.
They used to assert it with a bit of word magic, and they would say things go behind the horizon. But I don't think that's a correct description of what happens in reality, to say the word behind.
As soon as you say behind, that implies physicality, a physical obstruction to block it. When you're asked as a flat earther, why does the sun go down? Same thing. Down? What do you mean down? Well, it's going behind the edge of my sphere that's the horizon now, isn't it? No, it isn't.
Yeah, but we say sun up, sun down, right? It's in the rhetoric, isn't it?
But it's just a bit of word magic, is what I was saying. It's a turn of phrase.
So then where does the sun go? If Earth is not revolving around and it's was just going out of our sight, it's just moving away. Is it making
Going
a circuit like
into
the
the
Bible
horizon.
says?
Going into the horizon, not behind it.
Can I ask 10th a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, 10th, if you get your sextant out and you're lucky enough to be directly under a star, whatever it is, but you match its GP, and you travel away from that star, bloody phone, you travel away from that star, what will happen to the apparent height, as you would call it, or its angle? What would happen to that? Would it stay the same as you move, or would it diminish?
It would obviously diminish, and the angle will tell you. So if you're underneath it, you're 90. You're directly underneath it. So zenith, directly overhead. You're like right over the GP, geographical position of it. And if you move away, yeah, go on.
So then, in this case, the height, relative height, or the angle that you measure of the star, you don't attribute that to its height when navigating. You attribute it to the angle giving you a GP. I'll mute up. It's chaos.
Well, the dogs are going. Yeah, the GP, the height of the sun is somewhere, meaning its zenith position, normally around 12 noon for most places, but it can vary, over the Earth somewhere. And then you're somewhere over the Earth, and that angle, you're shooting with a baseline to the GP, which is straight, and then your angle to that sun, let's say. And let's say it says 60 degrees. And then you go to and it says, this is how many miles you're away from the GP of that sun, where it's directly overhead, from the place you took it, which is somewhere on the circle of equal altitude. So the angle can be translated into nautical miles once you go through the books and do the calculations. So the only time it's directly over you is when it's directly over you. And as it moves away, because it's moving, not the Earth, then that's the angle, much like a shadow would cast a stick, and the shadows in the afternoon get lower and lower and lower. If you've ever seen that, it's a beautiful sight.
Was that a sufficient answer, Adam?
He's got dogs barking.
I know you've got dogs barking, so I'm trying to fill the dead air.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever been at a golf course or a park and the sun is going down, as they say, going away from us, the shadows are sideways and lengthier, and it's. I mean, we've all seen it. So that's no longer at your 90. It have to be directly over your head to be at your 90. So that's somewhere around 10, 15, or 5 degrees above the horizon at that point.
Earth is flat.
I think that's
The
about-
only way that a sailor at sea with a knowledge of the sextant can know where he's at is if he could triangulate. And to triangulate, he's got to have a baseline that goes to the GP from the where the water is hitting the hull of his boat. That's where you make your dip correction, because if you're 9 feet above the water when you're using the sextant, you must make a correction and take it down to sea level so that straight baseline could reach to where you're shooting that sun and say, okay, I've got a straight line here. I've got a nice tangent line here to the GP. And then my angle to it in the sky, for example, say it's 35 degrees. You go to the books and it says, oh, you're 3,000 miles away. Well, how do they know that? Well, because it's got to be, excuse me, it's got to be overhead somewhere on the earth at a 90. And then your angle to it is 35 in this illustration. And there's your triangulation right there. 2 straight lines. You need to be the vertex. You're the corner to get the angle. No other way to get an angle. You can't do it on a curved surface. Angle and curved surfaces don't even mix.
I didn't actually have your imagery up, by the way, but you did a good verbal job.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, people have seen it before. And just look up the word angle. Look up the word corner and vertex. If you're going to say the sextant measures the angle, which is what it does, then you must be held to what creates an angle. Can you create an angle? Open question to all. Can you create an angle without straight lines?
I've got your picture of
Meeting
a
at a
circle
corner.
of equal altitude up to just to summarize what 10th's talking about. This is your star, or the sun in this example, and your GP is at the bottom of it. If you're measuring this from any position to any star to triangulate your fix, is that what you call it when you get all 3?
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to measure a straight line from your position here to the GP of the star and measure the angle to get your triangle. Well, if this bottom line was curving away from you, that would be unachievable.
And it must have a right angle. The star directly above to the surface of the earth is one straight line. From that GP to you is the other straight line, and that creates the right angle.
Perfect.
You can only use a sextant on a body of water, right?
Repeat.
Can you only use a sextant on a body of water?
No. No, you can use it for on land. You can do it. They even say you can do it use it to do the stars from land. Yeah, no. They even
But
have
what if there were-
artificial horizons. You can buy You can buy an artificial horizon. You can make your own artificial horizon, and you can have the reflection of the sun hit the pool of water or molasses on a plate. Yeah, some people use the old way, a plate full of molasses, and you can see the sun glare, and you can practice using a sextant with an artificial horizon. It gives you the same proper readings. There's some rules to it, but just look up artificial horizon, you'll see it. It's been a tremendous journey for me to investigate. I'm still saving money to buy a proper sextant. I'm sure the $1,500 ones will be on sale soon because I don't want to buy the plastic one. But again, I'm kind of torn because I know this can be much simpler they've done it this way. The math required, the calculations required to go to the different books, site reduction tables, the nautical almanac, all these different gyrations of things you got to do can be very simplified. I mean, imagine if they came out with a book. This is just my thought. I'm not sure if it could work yet, but imagine if they already know where the sun is at every given moment or second, which by the way they do, and they reverse it. And so instead of you going through all the different calculations, all you do is take an angle. So if you take the angle and then they had the book much easier, since they know where the sun is, they can give you exactly your circle of equal altitude based just on an angle. Instead of you doing all these different things. All you got to do is minus for dip correction and make sure your index error is because people drop a sextant or it gets bumped against something, and before doing it, you got to make sure your zero on the sextant is a true zero. So there's an index error correction you got to do. There's a dip correction you got to do. Very minute refraction correction you got to do, especially if you shoot 15 degrees above the horizon, as we discussed earlier, no more than 1 or 2 nautical miles if you didn't do the refraction, so no big deal. It can make it a lot easier because they know where it is, and all I should be able to do is say, hey, I got an angle of 30 degrees to it. Oh, okay, well, that puts you here in this circle because we know where it is in the center. That'd be so much easier.
Did you have another question, the guy who asked that from Discord?
That was me. And I don't have another question about that, but I have a question about what John was saying about the modus. I think he said modus polens with a P. Is that what he said?
Yes. He's not here now, actually. He's not here, but
okay.
If I can answer, I'll try.
So
oh, he is
like
here. Sorry, he is here. Are you listening, John? Uh-huh. No, he's not. Go ahead and ask anyway.
So can you repeat what he said?
Basically, if the Earth's flat, then the Earth will be measured flat. Or if the Earth is measurably flat, then we will measure it flat.
So then my question is wouldn't that have to be done on a body of water too? Because if you're measuring it on ground, like it's technically not flat. There's hills and all sorts of stuff in the way, right?
Yeah, you have to obviously account for topology if you're doing it on land. But by the same token,
the purpose of it going over sea and you using the horizon is it's kind of a self-leveling device, so that you know the angle you're going to measure is from that perpendicular to the plane. Obviously, if you tilt it down, etc., etc. So it's a ancient acceptance that the horizon is your vanishing point, but that's why you use it, which is why Tenth was talking about having an artificial horizon if you can't actually see off to the vanishing point. So it's not actually the ground you're on that's the issue. It's you're using that as a stabilizing point for your sextant.
And also, everything is measured from mean sea level as well, or the ground.
Okay, thanks. That's all I was just curious about.
Like when they say a mountain is 20,000 feet, where's the start of that? Sea level.
I'm sorry, I can answer his question now. I was messing with the kids. Geodetic surveyors, planar surveyors, anybody that works in architecture of any kind measures a plane. It's just how we have to measure the Earth. That's how it is.
Okay, I'll expand on that a little bit because there's also an assumption that they can make to weasel in the Earth's sphere whilst measuring it flat. So you can make the assertion that you're taking your position, you figure out where your position is, and then reference where you are to a datum. And from that datum, you can then draw out a tangent plane based on your assumption of your position in the first instance being on a sphere. So the tangent bit being tangent to the horizon, plane bit being that's what you're going to actually measure, plane, a flat surface. So what they do is they dispense with the assumption that the Earth's a sphere by referencing the datum which suggests Earth's a sphere, and then actually measuring it flat. So that's what you might also come across, just in case someone says, no, my proof is the WGS84. And you go, okay, well, that's just a model or a datum. What does that prove? And they'll indicate that when you go to a particular location, you can reference the datum, which is spherical, and therefore, when you measure out a plane, that means you're on a sphere. But they just do it either before or after. If that makes sense. Hopefully you'll ask if not.
No, that's good. I have another question about gas too later on.
Consult your doctor.
Nice one.
Hey, feel free, go ahead.
I'm just wondering about for gas, like, okay, if you have an empty container, basically a vacuum, and then you put a little bit of gas in, and the gas expands to fill the container, is the gas, I can't even describe what I'm trying to say. Is the gas completely filling the container, and then it's like a full salt, like I'm not solid, but it's like all the way through. Like if you put your hand through it, your hand would be touching gas all the way through, even if there's very little gas. Or if there's a very little gas and you somehow get your hand in there and you pass your hand through it, is there a vacuum in between the gas particles?
No.
That are in there?
There's gaps between, but the lack of gas at all would be your description of a vacuum. How little there is floating around in a given area. So there's nothing else for the gas to collide within a given area, then you can start defining vacuums. But what you're saying is, if you've got gas dispersed within a container, does it A, disperse equally? Yes, it does. That's the first question dealt with. The second thing is, as you move your hand through it, does that mean that if you're not touching any of the gas particles, moving your hand through a vacuum? Well, yes, but because of the velocity of the gas that's in that container, there is zero chance that you could move your hand through it without one of the gas particles hitting you as you did it. Even if there was just one in there, it would definitely hit you while you moved through, or escape through the gap that you managed to put your hand through the container with.
Oh, that's wild. I didn't. So one gas particle could be moving like at some of the fastest speeds, like I don't know, the speed of light's debunked, but like basically the speed of light.
No, thousands and thousands, about 5,000 miles an hour, I think, at standard RTP, your average thing.
There you go. So if you picture a small jar with you, let's say you can't actually physically feel it, but you can put a glove that's inside another container, so you can sort of put your hand inside it, right? Well, with it moving at that speed, how many thousands of times do you think that single gas particle is going to hit that glove when you put your hand in for a second or two? It's a lot.
Think about a balloon. If you think about a balloon, you've just described the gaps between the particles, and at any one frozen moment in time, they're there. But you don't see a balloon really oscillating. But there's nothing, one thing holding, there's no structure inside. There's just millions and millions and millions and trillions of collisions against the container that's holding that elasticity out there, keeping it stretched. But there's nothing like if you filled it with water, where it's static. Yeah, it's being held there by the number of collisions, not anything structural.
Yeah, and that comes back to the guy originally when he was from Super Chat saying, well, what about the gas pressure gradient? It's like, to have that develop, you first got to have all those collisions going on with the walls of the container for there to be the gas pressure. So in the same way I'm saying, well, you don't see an oscillating balloon because you've got like 5 gas particles in there, and sometimes they hit one little square inch of it, and then sometimes they hit another, so you see it bounce. No, you're talking about millions and millions and millions of collisions going on continually, and it essentially, as far as you can tell, is just an equilibrium, a balloon that's at the same basic shape and size constantly because it's at constant pressure. It's got a constant amount that you can calculate of gas hitting the walls of the container, in this case a balloon. Well, that's what gas pressure is. the force exerted on the walls of a container. That's what it is. That's what gas pressure is. So the notion that the sky is a vacuum and the gas we're breathing has nothing to press upon is ludicrous. Yeah, this picture on screen right now, if this black area was 10 to the minus 17 torr, all it would be is an area that this gas at high pressure would vacate into. That's what gas does.
Has someone taken a single gas particle and like isolated it to be able to study it? Is that something that happened?
Yes, me. I have a very clever machine. No, I don't know.
Well, you can't see individual molecules, can you? So, well, the way it's kind of understood and expressed is with Brownian motion, which you look under a microscope at smoke, and you'll see the little particles hitting each other, the little solid smoke particles. Now, that's a demonstration, a model of what's going off at a much smaller scale, because the reason those little smoke particles are moving is because they're being hit by the gas particles. So it kind of shows you a much slower rate and I think what's kind of going off. But no, you can't see that because you can't see an atom, can you? Other than you can see the effects.
Perfect. With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you, first and foremost, to Discord and Google for making today's live show possible. But of course, massive thank you to all of you for smashing the super chat, hopefully liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and becoming a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
On and off valve in between. And he says, on this side, we have a vacuum. And on this side, we have gas. And what do you think is going to happen if I turn this valve? Will the gas fill the vacuum? And of course, that's exactly what happens.
Well, we have a valve.
Yeah, I know. But so for example, a vacuum next to gas pressure. What would happen if the gas pressure was just next to a vacuum? Well, you wouldn't have a vacuum. That's the whole point.
In between that, don't you remember Zanuck saying that there's a valve?
So
valve Earth.
So gravity, which is debunked already because it's an effect, it's not a force anymore. So what's the valve then, according to these anti-flat earthers?
The inertial vector of Earth moving through an asymptotically flat universe.
Say that again.
The inertial vector of Earth moving through an asymptotically flat universe. That's what I've been able to piece together.
Well, again, if you're going to bring in valve, then the valve is in between of two other containers then. So they say Earth is an open system, and we know it has to be a closed system because you can't have gas pressure without a container.
Yeah, but they're confused. One of the tricks with this is like the word vacuum, because vacuum, depending on what context you're using it in, can just mean a differential pressure, and we do have a differential pressure on Earth. That doesn't mean it bleeds off to nothing or 10 to negative 17 torr and then stays that way to the end of the universe. So they're kind of playing some word games with the word vacuum.
Yeah, well, outer space, not space within a container, closed system Earth, are two different things.
Yes, I agree.
I have my own propane tanks here on property, and I just checked one the other day. It says 50%. Well, he filled it up to 80 because he can't fill it more than 80 because of the expansion of the gas in the heat of summer. So the temperature rises and the gas particles get excited. They need room to bounce faster and have more collisions. And he says, I can't fill your tank for more than 80. I got to give that 20% for the heat of the summer. I said, okay. So I checked it the other day and it's 50. And of course, at the end of August is when I fill it because you can buy propane the cheapest. No one's using it for heating during the summer. So he'll come here and let's say it's at 45 by the end of August. So where did 35% of the gas go? Oh, there's a valve that leads it to my stove. There's a valve that leads it to my dryer. I used it. So that vacated the tank through a valve, through a pipe for usage. But if it wasn't contained, how am I going to get it? How's there going to be any pressure?
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make about, like my problem isn't to claim that it's a 10 to the negative 17 torr. You can have pressure, whatever value you want, but when you say that it reaches 10 to the negative 17 torr and then it graded, that's it, then it just space, like that doesn't make sense.
Well, the vacuum of 10 to minus 17 torr cannot be the barrier because it would accept the gas. It wouldn't repel the gas.
Well, like one gas pressure itself can't be a vacuum, right? So whatever value you ascribe to that gas pressure, that's just what that gas pressure is. You need another pressure before you can establish a differential.
Well, I don't mind differentials within a closed system because Earth's a dynamic system. Gas is produced at ground level, and we have temperature variations. But you couldn't have the pressure unless you had a container. The key word is pressure.
I think
Yeah, I know
you're technically correct, John, in terms of 10 to the minus 17 torr being a gas pressure still. But to put it into context, and I'm starting to be corrected on the numbers, but we worked it out a while back. And at that point, you're looking at one molecule in about 3 cubic meters. So it would be unlikely you'd even hit the molecule. So whether you could define there being a pressure exerted on you is unlikely. It's not impossible unless there was some form of containment for it to rebound back to you. But in their analogy, there isn't. But I'd say at that low level, the term gas pressure that it could be experienced it's debatable whether it would be experienceable.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make an argument that you wouldn't need a container.
No, I'm just saying
that's what y'all think I'm doing.
It's calculable that lower. That's what it's hypothesized to be, isn't it? But actually, in reality, we couldn't achieve that. I mean, look at the best we could do. But at that level, would you actually experience that one molecule as you and it traveled through that 3 meters? You could stay apart and never hit, couldn't you? If your paths were.
Well, that's just like basing it on a convention, like not to say we can make a 10 to the negative 3 torr vacuum.
Well, fundamentally, accepting the premise that there's a vacuum at that level there.
10 to the minus 8, I think, is the best we've achieved on Earth so far.
Yeah. So.
Right, but that the way that our understanding of how particles work, doesn't mean that you're not going to fill the particles in there. You know,
There's no particles to feel. So I'm saying in the 3 cubic meters, so you're there in that 3 cubic meters of vacuum, and there's at that space Tor level, there's only one molecule sharing that 3 cubic meters with you. One.
So what he's saying is that at that level where the guy earlier asked, could I just pass my hand through a vacuum metaphorically and feel no gas, just go through the gaps? Well, I said no, because you couldn't ever achieve that even here. You know, you're still going to have some, even at 10 to the minus 8, some gas hitting you. But when you get to 10 to the minus 17 Tor, you know, orders of magnitude less, then you are in a situation where in a 3 meter space, if you've only got one, then yeah, you could put your hand right through that 3 meter square or 3 meter cube gap and have nothing happen, nothing touch you.
How does that work? I seen a video where they take these steel cars and they suck all the gas pressure out and they just collapse. What is that? Because how does that happen?
The pressure on the outside is then forcing down with nothing resisting it on the inside. So the lack of pressure to counterbalance the air pressure outside means that the air pressure outside can crush that chamber because there's nothing resisting it on the other side.
That's amazing.
but what I was trying to get at though is like our understanding of how particles work. Now that quantum mechanics is moving forward, like we're assuming that particle has a journey between the two walls of the container, right? That's what we're going to assume when we say that particle can't do that.
No, you're not assuming it. You can literally measure it.
You can measure the journey, or you can measure where it makes the connection.
No, you can measure the force on the walls. You can't. You did say journey. Should have listened carefully.
Right, and that's my point. Like we might not understand how particles work as well as we like to think.
No, I agree. The qualification
conceded totally.
Yeah, I agree. But the qualification of gas and the pressure it exerts on the walls of a container is still true. It holds true regardless.
Yeah,
until someone demonstrates otherwise.
17 Tor or not. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter if there is a 10 to the negative 17 Tor. You still need a container before you can have gas pressure.
Or the vacuum, for that matter. You can't have a vacuum without a container.
Right. Yeah, you're not going to have either one without the boundary layer first.
Whose quote is that? Without the container, there can be no pressure.
Conspiracy cats.
He's right.
Yeah, it's yes, he is. That's right, Neil. Hence,
sorry, I wasn't trying to kill the.
Well, I was just going to tally it off by saying, hence the sky's not a vacuum. Without the container, there can be no pressure.
It's very elementary.
My dear Watson.
It's high school,
I got
high school level, but yeah.
Got an air compressor here because you got to fill up your tires and do different things with an air compressor. I mean, how am I going to compress air without the container that the air compressor comes in with?
You don't.
It's right there in front of everybody.
What does the word mean?
Yeah, but then they'll say a fan.
Hold on. What does the word mean? Compressor. What does that mean exactly?
Pressurizing something in a tight place. Compressing it into a container so you have pressure that you can use later for whatever you're using it for.
Right. So it's about it pressing. You can make it press more if you compress it. That would be the gas, the air.
Yeah, there's a valve for the gauge. I could go 80 pounds, 150 pounds, over 200 pounds, depending on the size of the compressor, even more. But I've got a little handy one for air tools and carpentry, nail gun, pneumatics, things of that sort.
Very good.
See, everything is here for the ballers as well as the anti-flat earthers to see, and yet they want to keep their R. But then we took away R because there is no R. Now, without R, they lose everything.
Well, they still claim that you just have to turn a fan on and there's gas pressure out of container.
No, there's a gas pressure
plane
delta.
wing.
So the fan argument is a delta of gas pressure, sidestepping how we have the gas pressure in the first place, and asserting that if I ignore the fact that we have gas pressure next to a vacuum without it dispersing in line of natural law, second law of thermodynamics, if I just sidestep that and ask how existing gas pressure I'm not going to explain, when moved around by a fan, is actually gas pressure without a container. No, it isn't. It's taking existing gas pressure that wouldn't be here if the sky was a vacuum and moving it around into a delta of gas pressure.
So is that the same as when they talk about, like my son does the Mount Everest thing, that the air is thinner up there? So they think that it just stops right up there? Or wherever
That's
up
Delta
there
X.
is?
Well, let's move into Delta X. We need to know Delta, what Nathan is talking about first. Why do we have pressurized gas in the first place?
It is, if I take it into a different medium, just to make it easier to understand, Neil. If I say, how can I get my turbojet prop, whatever they call it, the thing that you jet ski, that's the one. How can I have it produce propulsion, right? Unless I've got water in a container. Now, if you just sidestep that and automatically assume that you're going to get your propulsion at a varying rate of speed and start arguing about that, you're ignoring the fact that you've got to have a container full of water in order to stick the jet ski in it to make it go along. Now, if you just say, well, you just put it in the water. Now it's in the water, we're going to argue about how quick it's going to accelerate. It's like, no. We're asking about, I've got a jet ski, it's in my lounge, and it's not moving. It doesn't matter how much you pull the accelerator, it doesn't go anywhere, right? So in order for it to achieve the speed that you're calculating, I've first got to have a container full of water to put it in. Yeah? So let's not worry about how it goes fast through water when it's in it, because then you're just assuming that we've got a nice tank of water to make this explanation and for you to ask me about the speed it's going to go. Likewise, well, let's start with us having gas pressure and explain how a fan moves that gas pressure around like the jet's moving the water around. Even though, as yet, I haven't explained where this container full of water or the container full of gas that I'm going to move around with a fan has come from in the first place. I'm just going to start my explanation with the jet ski in the water. Forget where we got the water, that doesn't matter. I'm going to sidestep that. We just have got it. No, I haven't. It's just in my lounge, sat on the carpet. It's not in water. What have we got to have first? We've got to build a massive container full of water or take it to a contained lake full of water then. So first, before we can start explaining the acceleration of the jet ski, we've got to have a container full of water first. Yeah? Likewise, if we're going to explain the fan blowing the air pressure around, we've got to have the air pressure first. And how do we have it? Well, we've got to have containment to have air pressure for the air to press upon. That's what pressure is. What's that? It's no, second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth, is the battle cry of your anti-flat earther. So what, natural law developed here on Earth when we explain how things occur always doesn't apply because your model of a heliocentric world has a sky vacuum. Therefore, it doesn't apply. It's not a law of nature anymore, just because it doesn't match your model. No, your model of an Earth sphere in a vacuum stands in violation of natural law. The gas would fill the vacuum. Simple as that.
Yeah, I get it. But my son comes back with the what do you call Mount Everest, and I understand it. I explain it to him. You still have gas pressure, just that the air is thinner up there. I don't know what he's trying to say with that.
Well, it's an anti-gravity rebuttal. So the gas which is created at ground level made its way up to the top of Everest then, because it wasn't produced up there. There's no bloody trees at the top of Everest. So what's producing the gas? Oh, right. It made its way up from ground level, did it? So it's dispersing then. So that's an entropic effect that it's experiencing to make its way to the top of Everest. So in order for it to get there, it's doing so and can be described accurately with the law of nature that is the second law of thermodynamics. It's a bloody entropic effect for it to get there. It's dispersing, right? Getting less as it goes up further away from the source. That's dispersion. Yeah? Well, if it's dispersing, entropy, then it's experiencing entropy. An entropy increase, right? To get up to the top of Everest. Well, that's just going to continue into the sky vacuum if there was one.
Yeah, it still has to be a container, even though the air is thinner up there. You can't say that that nullifies a container. Still has to be contained.
It actually proves a container.
Yeah,
if the production,
I agree.
If the production of gas, on this immense Earth we live on is starting at ground level, and you go to Mount Everest and you don't see any trees, but you know you still got some air up there. A lot of people need oxygen to climb Mount Everest. Some people do it without. They're used to it. They live up there, the Shirkas. And then you go higher and it's thinner. Well, that just means you're in a container, and it's the higher pressure, low pressure, like the barometric pressure works. Now, if you didn't have a container, all that gas would just, as they say, would just fill the vacuum that's above it. But the reason it's not filling a vacuum above it, and we're still able to breathe, is because we're contained.
How old is your son?
18.
What'd you say,
He's
19?
18. 18.
Oh, then fuck him, Neil. It's not your responsibility anymore. Kick him to the curb, mate.
I should after you put that hat in the bed, right?
One day he'll hear a news report, right, Neil? This is something that you just want to get one over on him just for a bit of a giggle. And everyone here will remember this moment. There'll be a moment when it's, I don't know, it might be now, it might be a couple of years. Let's say it's a couple of years' time, right? It'll be 20. And he'll hear on the news, a 19-year-old man was arrested for burgling a house and has been sentenced to blah, 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 blah. And when you're a 20-year-old and you hear the news describing someone very similar age or younger than you as a man being prosecuted or anything else similar, you suddenly sit back and go, holy crap. so that's me now. I'm not a child anymore. I'm completely responsible for what I do and there's severe consequences for it. You're suddenly like, bloody hell. 19-year-old man. There's me still thinking I'm a kid at 20. Not true for me, but there we go.
Just for the record, I got some good kids. Compared to me, when I was at 19, 18, I got saints.
Yeah, but he doesn't understand and appreciate that the Earth is obviously unobservably flat, so technically he should be outcast.
Crucify him!
Not at all. Don't take that seriously. Yeah, I say it tongue-in-cheek, but I'm half serious. You know, at this point, your responsibility for educating him is over, Neil.
Agreed. But he is thinking about it a lot. He could
Hold
deny
on,
it all
hold
he
on.
wants,
Tenth,
but he
can you
hears
please
it and he's
mute?
thinking about it.
Hold on. Tenth, please mute. Please.
Oh, I was going to say something. Sorry.
Yeah, but while you're sitting there off mute, all we can hear is... That's all we hear while you're waiting off mute.
Hey, that's gas pressure. Don't blame it on me.
It's just frustrating. Anyway. Completely thrown me off my game now, Neil. What the hell were we babbling about?
About your job
My
being
son.
done teaching the kids.
Yeah. He's thinking about it.
But I
But
don't
he's
think
his
your
own
job's
man is
ever
what I'm saying.
completed.
Go ahead, Flat Earth Solar. Sorry.
I'm just saying that I don't think it's ever concluded, the teaching of your kids or learning from your parents. Wow, there's an echo.
No, I understand what Nathan means, though. As far as I'm responsible for him, he's a man now. Yes, and he makes his own decisions. He makes good ones. So, but he does hear me. He does hear it on the show. When we're in the car, I have the show on because I hear him making, you know, making remarks here and there, always negative. But I challenge him to come on and present his questions to you personally, Nathan, or to QE when QE is on. He's been on a few times, but listen, he can't get around the geometric horizon. That has got him stuck to the point where he denies the picture and the video and says, "How do I know that's even real?" So, you know, right there, he's dead.
And nobody
Ask your
can get
question.
around the geometric horizon. That's
Hold
the
on.
problem.
It was that flat Earth solar again.
Well, no, I had a question for Neil about his son. Does he think he lives on a sphere because he has some proof for it, or does he think he lives on a sphere because he doesn't want it to be flat?
That's a good question, but he holds that. No, Earth is spherical. It's proven.
Well, you can tell because he'll start out each of his statements, it can't be flat because, or it is round because. How does he approach the topic?
He does them both. Actually, he says it both ways.
Yeah, he's borderline anti-flat Earth. So yeah, that's what you're driving at, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, it means the arguments are affecting. I mean, it took me 3 years to finally get it. So don't give up on him.
But see what it is. I get very hot-headed, real quick. So like it doesn't. I can't progress it. So the rule is now we're not talking about it no more.
Plus, it good because cognitively, you know, you're forcing the kind of pain that we invite by having an open panel from the Globers or anti-flat earthers that join in Discord. Well, your son can't escape that, right? you can't escape you. I mean, he can, but that's the problem. That's what I was getting at. You know, you don't want to push him away. And now he's a fully grown adult. He's going to have the mental capacity to process this for himself. And I'm in no doubt about this, in the cognitive dissonance that we experience and see so often. Now, I know you want the best for him, therefore you want him to get past that cognitive dissonance, and you know there's only one way of getting past it. So you're going to keep banging that drum, right? Well, he's your flesh and blood. He'll get there eventually. You probably only needed to have mentioned it the once anyway, and he'd have got there eventually. But pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, you might end up having the adverse effect just because of you pushing so hard.
I
don't. 1 second. I don't push him at all. That's the whole thing. If he brings it up, I talk about it. But the rule is not at the dinner table, because dinner is we eat, we talk. Tuesday nights we listen to church service, have communion. So it's nothing about flat earth at the dinner table. But he knows he gets under my skin, and he knows I'm hot and I'm quick. So he's very slick, my son. I got to give him that.
That's your problem. That's your issue. You're not at peace with this, and I know damn well you're not, as much as you're in denial and tell me you are. That's your issue.
Yeah, I'm hot-headed, so I can't, I could have a conversation here. I still get hot here, too. But, when he starts with it, I just get so hot-headed. I can't even reason anymore. I forget everything.
Are you at peace with aliens, Neil?
Aliens as far as,
Whatever
what do you mean, space aliens?
Yeah. Are you at peace with that?
Of course, I know it's going to happen.
Ever get hot-headed? Ever get hot-headed about it?
No.
Right, because you're at peace with it.
Absolutely.
Right, but you get hot-headed about flat Earth quite frequently.
Nathan, stop it. Why are you setting me up like that?
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Like at the beginning of the show, Neil, you become a muse. Is that the right word? Somebody you can paint on as a nice canvas, right? Yeah, you're having to contemplate this from your own perspective is useful to everyone listening. Don't take it personally.
Yes, it is.
I'm not picking on you.
Yeah, but you're setting me up.
No,
I'm
it's
not
not a
saying you,
setup. It's called a confrontation. That's something else.
I'm at peace with flat Earth. I'm not at peace that my son don't accept it.
But the vibes you're giving out are saying that you're not at peace with it, though. That's kind of where I'm going with this, Neil. In other words, right?
How?
If you became indifferent to it, that would be to say that your acceptance level was higher than it actually is, or what you think it is. Then that would emanate out to your son. In other words, if you were like, yeah, whatever, and kind of indifferent to it, because you know what's what, and you're at peace with it, which you are not, then that would have a positive effect on the people around you in that respect, regardless of which way they felt about it as well, I might add. I'm speaking from experience here.
Oh, and yeah, that's how it's been lately. That's what I'm saying. But there will be little outbursts here and there, like the other day. But before that, that's exactly what I say to him. Yeah, okay, Jacob, whatever you say. Earth is still flat. And the horizon is not Earth's curve. Oh yeah, I answer him that way too. So it goes both ways. But sometimes, it gets hot because he knows all of these things. It frustrates me because he knows all of these things. He's very smart, but he's being stupid in this aspect.
All right, so it doesn't have anything to do with flat Earth. It just has to do with your son believing in things that worry you, right?
I wouldn't say I'm worried.
Could be a
Not
gateway
worried
thing.
about it.
Maybe once, in a lot of instances, when people recognise the deception about flat Earth, they move on to realise that there's many other deceptions around them. They just have to apply a bit of critical thinking to some of them, and they find that the same outcome comes to pass when they assess it. So it's a useful gateway into complete and total, to succumb completely to the control system that you're in and accept carte blanche everything that you're told. Well, that is what you've got to be a globe believer, a normie globe believer, not an anti-flat earther. You've then had your cognitive processes stretched to the point of dissonance in that, and then you become something else. But for a normal globe believer, plus the other thing, Neil, why are you saying he's stupid? That's not true. He's constantly bombarded with brainwashing, and has been since birth. So you can't really blame anybody for this. But people perpetuating the lie half the time don't even know that they're doing it.
Well, one good thing is, I heard him tell my other son, they just went high up. They didn't go to space. I heard him saying that about this thing that they did the other day, the Branson thing. I heard him telling my son Josiah they didn't go to space. They just went high. So that's a little reassuring.
Come on,
for me.
even Joe Rogan said that. So I think everybody caught on to that, including Globers.
Well, if Joe Rogan said it.
Apparently.
Yeah, he loves
Joe
I think
Rogan
that
said it, then it must be safe, So
go ahead, Solar.
I think that the name anti-flat earther is very powerful because you only get flat earthers and anti-flat earthers. We're all flat earthers. Some of us just don't know it yet.
I love it. Indeed.
I was just thinking
Well-
maybe Neil's son's not belief in the flat Earth maybe makes him question his belief in the flat Earth. Does it make him question himself?
To Neil, do
True.
you question yourself because your son doesn't believe, Neil?
He's out of your freaking mind. Where he's getting this from?
Psychologically, yes.
He's out of
Because
your
it's
mind.
when they don't accept it, you keep digging to try and find the thing that
I
will
don't
convert
dig.
them.
What the hell is wrong with you? I don't dig. Did you hear what I said? We don't have this discussion anymore because it ends up being an argument. So it's really not even.
This is the kind of non-chill
And an
vibe that
argument
I was
is not a
talking
dig.
about, Neil. This is you not kind of taking it easy and yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm secretly a global. I don't.
No, that's not what we're
know,
saying.
it's the non-overreaction that
That's
we're
not what
talking
we mean.
My goodness.
You're getting very sensitive about this. We'll leave you alone, Neil. I can tell you're very sensitive about it.
I do not question it because biblically it's correct. We have a dome over us called the firmament. That's why we're breathing. That's why we're alive. The
Yeah,
Bible
partially that's
speaks
why
about
I
it,
rib
and
you
it's
about this,
true.
Neil.
Immediate chanting.
Hold on. I was about to round up, but now he said that. Because 10th doesn't do that. You and 10th are equally religious in that regard. But I very rarely ever hear 10th man lean on the religious justification. I can't think of a single example where he has. He details it, but he doesn't lean on it. You lean on it. So you're almost
Of course
using it
I
as a
lean on it.
crutch. You lean on it. Well, it says it in the Bible, which almost says, well, even if I am wrong about it, it still says it in the Bible, which means there's a doubt in your mind that says, well, I need something else that props it up, and that's what you use to prop it up.
No, not at all. You're going the opposite way with it. I believe that the Bible is literal. Everything that's written, it's literal.
You're
There's
making my
some
point for
poetry
me.
in it, but it's
Yeah.
literally what it says.
Yeah, you're making my
Including
point for me.
rebirth? Is that literal?
Including what?
I don't want to get into his debate about
Rebirth.
Arwin.
They
That's
talk about it.
That's not what I mean. You're leaning on that,
Talking about
right? In other words,
spiritual
when you
rebirth.
justify it as being, well, it still
Not
says it in the
literal.
Bible. It's almost like, you know, it's a justification rather than an acceptance, which is why I say you're not at peace with it.
No, I'm at total peace. I'm at total peace. As a matter of fact, when I made that turn after literally berating my brother for 2 or 3 weeks, as the evidence came in, or non-evidence for the globe, I should say, there hasn't been a moment where I was like, oh, well, they're going to prove a sphere eventually. No.
Okay.
And then on top of it, when the black swan came forth, there's no geometric horizon. It's over. It's done.
Okay.
It's not
I
a
think
physical
we'll
place,
just hold
so
on.
I'm
We
at
need to take a
peace.
vote from the other cult members. Has he proved himself worthy?
No.
It almost
Is he
sounded-
allowed to
Yes,
stay?
we all agree, Nathan.
It
Hey,
seems.
could I say
But I
something
think
that might be
you
Hold on,
raise a
one
good
of the
point.
elders wants to speak.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the black swan is technically like a anti-globe argument. It's not necessarily a flat Earth argument.
That's correct. It's not in any way addressed to any anti-flat earthers either. In many ways, it's like the poison or the whatever, like the ooze in Spider-Man, you know, that turns people that way. So you give them the black swan argument, and if they were a globe believer, well, obviously the boat's being blocked by a physical sphere edge. Here's how many feet and inches. And you go, here's the black swan argument. At that point, they've basically been poisoned with anti-flat earth. They become an anti-flat earther as a result of the black swan, because that's the path they're faced with. Either an acceptance that you haven't got a physical geometric sphere edge and everything you claim is based on it, or you claim that you've got bendy tangents and become an anti-flat earther and talk nonsense.
Now I will
And like you said,
Oh,
why are we not
the
triggered
Triggered by what?
by, like you said, if someone asks you about aliens, you shrug your shoulders. I don't care what you think about aliens. But as soon as it comes to this topic, we get so emotionally invested in trying to get the opponent to understand what we're saying that it brings us to this point of where people think that passion is aggression. And it's almost like when you're trying to show someone 2 + 2 = 4 and they keep getting the 4 wrong. 2 + 2 = and they say 3, and you say no, 2 + 2 = and they say 5. And eventually you're like, no, come on, like concentrate. 2 + 2 =. Why is it that we get so emotionally strung when talking about this topic, as opposed, like you said, to other topics where you know inside and you don't actually need to convert anyone else?
Perfect way for me to...
What's the topic?
Oh, maybe not. What was what
Yeah,
topic?
it's very easy. We're not raised everywhere in the world, and every time we turn on the TV, we don't see 2 + 2 = 5 in the background everywhere. We're not taught that if you think anything
Correct.
that 2 + 2 = 5 is ridiculous, because if we had, then it would be a lot more triggering when brought up.
Hold on. Divide by
Very
zero.
good, Arwin.
I'll just give an example before the guy from Discord gets to ask his question. What about divide by 0, get everything in existence, Arwin? We're told that.
Well, that is actually explained to be purely mathematical.
See
If
how
you
it
ask
immediately
your math
launches
teacher,
into the
he
justification.
will immediately tell you about it.
Yep, launch into the justification. There would be outrage.
Wait.
Go ahead.
2 + 2 = 5.
Can someone
It's
inform me what
officially
the
not
topic
being
is?
reified. It's
Hold on,
admitted
Arwin.
to be purely mathematical.
No, it is reified into the Big Bang. It's claimed to be what happened.
No,
This
that's not
guy
literally
just...
the
Hello,
Big Bang, it's
everyone.
just
Hello.
an analogy.
Hello. There's a guy made
Yourself.
2 attempts, tried to inject himself into the conversation. Obviously wants to join in. Hello, what's your name? How can I help?
Hello, my name's Kopiko. I just wanted to know what the topic was about because I'm just listening at the moment.
I don't even know what the topic of conversation is about.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Flat
I
Earth.
do. So the conversation is about somebody trying to convert a fellow family member into their cult-like religious fundamentalist belief in flat Earth. It's disgraceful.
So are there actual flat
That's
earthers in
not
here, or is
true.
it a meme?
Sorry, did you just want to ask your own questions, or did you want to know what the topic was? I've told you. Did you want to react to that, or just immediately change the
Oh
subject?
yeah, no, I did. I did react to that. I said, are there actual flat earthers in here, or is it just a meme? Like, do people actually believe that's true, or in this call, I'm saying?
This is a flat Earth Discord server. Yes, many of us are flat earthers. Is that really your question?
No, but I feel like if you guys are having a discussion about something, don't you both have to have different views on flat Earth theory?
It's not a theory.
Theory?
Well, I mean, look, guys, I'm not a flat earther, so I was just trying to listen. So I don't know if you both are speaking.
No worries. First and
that's all.
foremost, you've had a groan from several people here when you've said theory. Would you like that explaining?
If they want to, sure, but
yeah, it's
yeah,
useful.
sure.
Okay, so theory would be a term used in science, and theory comes after experimentation. So phenomena, hypothesis, experiment, then theory. So when you say flat Earth theory, it's like, what theory? We're not asserting any theory. Obviously, the term's misused quite a lot, because it could also mean, colloquially, a Mystic Meg theory or a Nostradamus theory. And that's how theory's used when assertions of the sphere are being made, because there's no scientific evidence that we're on a sphere. That's why you got a groan.
Right.
Oh, fair enough. Well, okay, okay, fair enough. So what would I say? Flat Earth, what would be the better follow-up word?
I don't know.
Idea?
I don't know what's going on in your brain.
Truth.
Flat Earth
Flat Earth
fact.
truth.
Description.
Oh, come on.
The description of an aspect of the world we live in.
But
It's a fact.
I'm someone who doesn't believe it's flat Earth, so I wouldn't say that's the truth.
Sorry, I misheard you. Say it again.
No, I'm just saying, you're saying the flat Earth truth. Someone said to call it the flat Earth truth, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Earth's obviously, observably, measurably, navigationably flat.
Not really.
The experience you've ever had.
Guys, can you hear this guy trying to respond to me? What do you mean, not really?
Well, if you've seen the study on how there was 2 people, right? I don't know what the study is exactly called, but there were 2 people standing on a flat, like let's say just like a desert, very, very flat, no mountains, not a hilly surface, just flat. And there was
very flat,
yes. And the person that was standing far away could only see the horizon. He couldn't see the other person or the helicopter that was there. Now the person standing next to the helicopter beyond the horizon was obviously in contact with the person standing far away and said, okay, the helicopter is going to take off. Tell me when you see it in the air. The person close sees the helicopter ascending, but the person standing far away who's looking out in the horizon sees nothing. And then the guy's like, no. So I'm saying, if it was flat, you'd see the helicopter rising at the exact same time. But it took longer for the person standing further away to see the helicopter. So, I mean, that's why the whole flat Earth idea isn't concrete. It's not like a fact.
Right,
It's just an idea.
So you said, let's just address a couple of those things.
Can I?
Is it? Or maybe it is.
Can I
If it is, yeah,
Nathan?
I think so.
Which bit, Arwin?
Right, I'll keep it short. So you say it rises up and then you don't immediately see it, right? So what do you think causes that? Why isn't it visible right away to the observer?
Because he can't see beyond the horizon. And the horizon is where usually the Earth would start curving.
Oh, so the horizon's Earth curve.
Curving off.
I see. So your assertion in this instance is that the horizon is a physical geometric sphere edge blocking the helicopter then?
Well, yes. And I don't mean it's like an actual edge that's, straight that just dips. I'm saying it's just like a slight, very, very slight curvature.
Yeah, an edge blocking the helicopter.
Yes, exactly.
You said no, not quite, but then disagreed, but only to go on to say that it's
Oh,
slight.
no, I thought, no, I was just saying no. I thought like when you said that, like that's like where it just curves. That's where the curve begins. That's what I was.
I see.
Physical
So
clarifying.
you are under the misapprehension that the horizon is a physical edge for boats to fall over then?
No, I didn't say that.
Sorry, you said a helicopter went behind it.
I went behind it, but I'm saying the helicopter wouldn't be able to be like, oh, I'm on an edge.
Well, like a boat
You
going over
can't- you can't
it.
tell.
Sorry, it seems that you don't understand your own assertion about what a sphere would do.
No, I know what you're saying.
You don't need to talk, I'm
So a
talking.
boat-
You
so
don't
a
need to
boat-
talk, I'm
Okay.
talking. That doesn't mean you immediately start talking through me. When I say you
Well,
don't...
you're making assumptions. I'm just correcting you.
Excuse
that's all.
me. I'll try a third time. You will not talk through me. I'll say it again.
Go ahead.
Starting with my correct assertion that you don't seem to understand what the sphere asserts. It's based on a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator labelled Earth curve calculator. And it asserts that there will be a physical geometric sphere edge for boats to fall over. You're claiming the same sphere edge blocks your view of a helicopter. And then saying, no, it's not an edge for boats to fall over. That's the fourth time you've interrupted this statement,
Okay.
my friend. Can you not interrupt everything I say? That's the fourth time you've interrupted me on this statement. So,
Are you
I'm
that
merely
sensitive, to be honest?
clarifying.
Are you that sensitive?
Triggered
I don't know if
globe
it means it or
believer.
not.
Fifth time triggered globe
Jesus,
believer.
man.
Please pop yourself on mute till I have finished my statement. Hello? I'm not going to tell you for a sixth time not to talk through me. Until you go on mute, I can't continue because you're constantly interrupting me. Hello? Are you deaf?
Oh, so you're not going to continue if I don't go on mute?
I will continue when you go on mute, as I am now demanding that you do, so you don't talk through me for a sixth time.
Okay, well, I'm not going to go on mute. So it's up to you if you want to continue then.
So either you get
okay.
to talk continually through me or you won't participate. So you will use what we have deemed the fundamentalist religious zealot mute button. You will mute my statement regardless. So you're not going to tolerate me rebutting what you have actually stated, which is that a physical geometric sphere edge horizon blocks your view of a helicopter. I'm merely clarifying what you've already claimed. You seem apprehensive to just confirm what you've already stated. I haven't even refuted it yet. I'm merely trying to get you to clarify your own bloody position, and you've interrupted me 6 times.
Just makes the show
Well, when
easier.
you were clarifying, all I was saying was yes. I was actually disagreeing, and you're like, "Oh, you've interrupted me. Oh, you've interrupted me." I'm disagreeing with what you're saying.
Oh, right.
That's all.
Excellent. Well, you're going to have a struggle to not talk through me. We'll see when I refute that. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius 3959, as asserted in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, to give you your value of a sphere edge to block the helicopter, then every measured distance to that horizon could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. And we have imagery beyond the geometric limitations of a physical sphere with a radius 3959. Therefore, the horizon is not a sphere edge.
Oh, are you finished now?
What? Taking apart your assertion that a sphere edge blocked a helicopter by debunking the assertion that it's a sphere edge? Am I done ripping your globe claim to pieces? Yeah, I am pretty much done ripping to shreds your claim that a helicopter's blocked by a sphere edge. It isn't.
Okay, nice, man. No worries, man. Okay, good one. But okay, then can you please explain to me the lunar eclipse? Why is it that the lunar eclipse?
No, we're going to have you actually acknowledge that the helicopter's not blocked by a sphere edge.
Sure, I
One
acknowledge it.
topic at
Okay,
a
happy.
time.
Well, I'm
Topic
still okay. I said it. I acknowledge it. Fair enough.
Well,
What
then the
because,
Earth
to
is
be honest,
not a
I
sphere.
don't
Excuse
understand
me.
the mathematical terms he's brought up. I'm
Yes,
just
once
agreeing
you've
with him.
conceded, you don't need to continue babbling indefinitely.
No,
That's
I'm
correct.
allowed to. I'm allowed to. Sorry, I'm allowed
What,
to.
babble
Sorry.
indefinitely? You've conceded. No, your example with a helicopter being
No,
blocked
I'm
by...
allowed to. I'm allowed to. Because I said yes to that. I said yes to that. Now you don't need to have this sort of a prideful, rebuttal all the time.
Oi, globe-believing wanker! Shut the fuck up and be berated by the flat earther, not a meme, an actual person ripping your claim to shreds. That's right, dick brain. You are thick as shit and being told off by a flat earther for how fucking stupid you are. You claimed a sphere edge got in the way of a helicopter. Now rip that garbage to shreds. That's right, fuckwit. A flat earther ripped your stupid nonsense to shreds, and now you want to move on to eclipses and claim that I'm not going to have my victorious moment? Yes, I will. I'll claim victory because you lost to a flat earther with your stupid shitty claim that the horizon's a fucking sphere edge. It isn't shit for brains. Who's making that noise?
I do still believe in that, right?
Believe in it? No, mate, we've debunked it. So your belief is inconsequential because we've debunked it as a sphere edge. It's beyond the geometric limitations of a sphere radius 3959. We've debunked it. Now, you may not understand that, and you may want to move past it having conceded it onto eclipses. But if you haven't got a sphere edge, then you have no Earth curve geometry. You haven't got an Earth curve anymore, idiot.
Childish 1-2 at that.
All I'm going to say to you is, okay, the thing that I didn't agree with was when you said, oh, then a boat falls off. When you said that, I said, no, it doesn't merely just fall over, like fall off the edge. It goes into it. That's all I want to say.
What, the edge that I've debunked with a modus tollens argument, Black Swan debunking physical geometry? No, your boat are claimed to go over an edge and have a feet and inches value ascribable in the begging the question, proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator based on an R value and a tangent point to a horizon. We have debunked that. Therefore, you no longer have Earth curve, my friend.
So you actually believe it's flat?
Come again?
I actually don't know. I don't know if you're memeing or not.
Come again?
Flatter.
I know. But I'm saying because based on that, what he's saying, based on that the debunked thing that I said, okay, if he has evidence to provide, if he's what he's saying is true, I can't refute that. Fair enough. I was wrong. Fair enough. Okay,
you can't.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not going to sit here and be ignorant and have
perfect.
some sort
now
of
you
delusion.
need to shut up. Yes. Everyone else, including this guy, please be quiet. Hello. Yes. Now you've conceded. I've refuted your claim that you said it's ludicrous to assert that Earth's flat, despite us pointing out that's how it's. You're going to talk through me again.
Based
You complete cunt.
A documentary.
You complete wanker.
It was
What
based
part
on a
of
documentary?
Yeah, mate. Hello. I understand your claim. I heard it. Then I took my trousers down and took a giant shit on it. Now I need you to shut the fuck up. Do you understand that?
No, I'm not going to. No,
then
I
I'll kick you out. You either accept that your stupid shit claim that you took as read from a documentary that you now want to babble through me about was ripped to shreds by me, leaving you with no claim, high and dry and nothing to assert as proof of a sphere. So when you babble on and mutter about what this means, it means Earth's not a sphere. Do you understand that?
Nathan, all I'm going to say is, you can ask anyone here who's listening, I already confessed that said was wrong based on the evidence you provided.
Excellent. Now it's my opportunity to welcome you to Flat Earth.
No, I'm definitely not joining Flat Earth.
No, it's not joining. It's a recognition that we don't have Earth curve, which is what would be required to be on a sphere. And as you've just conceded, you don't have that anymore. So, welcome to Flat Earth. Earth is obviously, observably, measurably, and navigatably flat. And when you say, no, a helicopter went behind the horizon, I just point out the horizon's not Earth curve. And then where do you go with your belief in being on a sphere?
Then, can you explain to me what the horizon is then, please?
It's the apparent position where the sky meets the ground or sea.
Okay, and what's beyond it? What's beyond it? Is it still just flat?
Sorry, who cares? It's not Earth curve. Your belief in a sphere has Earth curve. And we've debunked it, my friend. And I know that every time I point that out, you're going to jabber through me and tell me, no, I refuse to not have my fundy mute button to shut you up every time something devastating comes my way about my belief that Earth curve gets in the way of things. I can measure Earth curve. I can get R values from Earth curve horizon tangents. We've destroyed all of that, my friend. So Earth's not a sphere.
Well, no, you haven't destroyed all of that. That's
Yeah, we have. I've just done it. You just don't want to accept it. A hand wave followed by a question about eclipses won't change that you've conceded you don't have Earth curve. One of the fundamental things about being on a sphere is having Earth curve, though. You appreciate that, right?
Sure.
Welcome to Flat Earth.
Oh, no, but I'm saying to it.
No.
Snatch in
Yes.
the back. Sure, but no. Okay.
No. I haven't got Earth curve, but I still want to believe I'm on a sphere. Well, good for you. We'll just keep welcoming you to Flat Earth when you keep conceding you haven't got an Earth curve edge to block things.
Okay, no offense, you're quite hypocritical, but it's okay.
I'm quite hypocritical. Meanwhile, we've only got one horizon, and the horizon in your begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator is physical and geometric. You thought it blocked helicopters. Exactly as asserted in your calculations that have physical horizons. It's not. It's an apparent, meaning not physical, location where the sky appears, redundant, to meet the land or sea. Not an Earth curve edge that bends at altitude or blocks boats or buildings. No, my friend, you've already conceded you don't have that. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Definitely not joining, but either way, the horizon does...
It's not a club. It's a recognition of your reality. I don't give a crap about you thinking you're joining a club or seeing me as a club member. No, I just recognise the reality around me. There's no Earth curve.
Okay, can you please explain to me the eclipse then? Let's move the topic.
No. Why would I need to explain an eclipse to you? I haven't made any claims about an eclipse. There's a claim that there's an eclipse caused by heliocentric motion. I haven't made it. So maybe you need to launch into your claim about the eclipse because I don't make one.
I was about to. But
excellent.
It's okay. Do you want me to? Yo, what's up?
Don't you think a more prudent question would be to ask, you've just conceded that the radius isn't where it should have been. Why would that video that you were referencing show something that couldn't really occur in real life? Or why are they manipulating the footage to make it appear like a helicopter can hide behind a bulge of water when water always rests flat and level? That should be the real question, not that you agree with Nathan that the radius has been disproven, that it definitely, we can see too far, but yet at the same time to say we can't see far enough when helicopters hide behind the curvature.
Or to put it another way, let's dwell on your total failure to prove you're on a sphere when you asked if Flat Earth was a meme. I told you it's measured flat, navigated flat, and obviously and observably flat. You ignored all of it in favour of an Earth curve getting in the way of a helicopter because a documentary told you on telly. What a
It's not like that. Even a ship sailing off. How can you explain it? You kind of say that the...
Sorry, that's a burden of proof reversal fallacy. I shit on your claim, you demand I explain it. That's a logical fallacy. Yeah, like all globe-believing wankers, you suddenly think that I owe you an explanation for the horizon. No, I don't, globe-believing wanker. Your explanation was ripped to shreds. I now don't owe you an explanation for what the horizon is. Okay?
No, you are not the centre of attention, right? You know you're not...
It's my show! It's got my name over the channel, but I'm not the centre of attention. I can assure you I am. It's my fucking channel. So yeah, absolutely, people come here because it's my name over the door. Do you think you're the centre of attention here, Gamma Dick? No, my friend. I assure you I absolutely unequivocally am the centre of attention right now. Yeah? People are listening to me rip you a new asshole, and they take great pleasure in it. They especially take great pleasure when an arrogant prick like you starts talking through me and telling me that I'm not to be the centre of attention. When you haven't got a geometric horizon to block a helicopter, because it told you on the telly, didn't it, dickhead?
Are you finished?
Yeah, ripping you a new asshole. I'll do it all day, regardless of your condescending tone, that I'm not done ripping you a new asshole. Yeah, I can do this all day with globe-believing idiots, my friend. We're not a meme. We're the people pointing out that you haven't got a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon. You want to move on, I want to dwell, just like everyone else here who seems to be in agreement with me. When they ask you, like the guy just did, Why isn't it that you don't want to dwell on your lack of R? That's what your globe belief
Let's not move on.
requires. You just want to talk
Let's not move
through
on,
me,
then.
Fundy mute the crap out of me, and then ask me if I'm not the centre of attention on my own show.
You're not.
Yeah, that's going to go down well.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, just keep
He
Fundy
still
muting me,
thinks he's on a
dipshit.
sphere. This guy, even though you debunked it, he still thinks he's on a sphere.
No, it's. I said to you, someone sent me a link saying that the evidence, the documentary, had been proven fake, and I can agree with that. What grounds do I have to stand and be like, no, it was true?
You don't. We debunked Earth curve edge horizons with modus tollens. It's beyond the geometric limitations of a sphere radius 3959. We can demonstrate that all day long. Yeah, you can sigh all you like. That's the fact of the matter. You haven't got a sphere edge for a horizon anymore. And that's a fundamental part of having a sphere underneath your feet. So if you haven't got it, you haven't got a sphere underneath your feet.
Okay, can you please explain the phenomenon then?
No, I've just told you that's a burden of proof reversal fallacy. Me ripping apart your claim that a horizon that's physically blocking things, as per my depiction on screen right now, where it says location of geometric horizon, and the two triangles represent the thing it's blocking, and I rip that to shreds, I then don't have to launch into an explanation for the horizon. That's not my burden. I haven't made any claims about it. I've just ripped your claim that it blocked a helicopter to shreds. I owe you nothing thereafter. This guy telling me I don't owe him anything. I don't owe you jack. I'm not going to explain the horizon to you. No. You, on the other hand, are a dick and claimed it blocked a helicopter and then had that ripped to shreds and now feel you've got the right to demand an explanation from me. You haven't.
I never said that.
Yeah, you did. You asked me to explain it, you stupid moron. You don't realise you're being recorded? Yes, you did.
It doesn't matter if I'm recorded. I must.
Yeah, it means that when you lie and say you haven't just claimed that, I can trim it out and play it right after you lie. So stop lying, you globe-believing twat.
This is
Yeah, you did demand that I explain it, burden of proof reversal fallacy. Then you lied.
You just embarrassed me yourself.
Yeah, then you Fundy muted me. So now it's Fundy mute time. You have reversed the burden of proof and demanded an explanation for the phenomena of the horizon of me because I took apart your claim. That's a fallacy. You keep ignoring it.
I'm not. Oh my goodness, man, you're really self-centered as a person.
That's called an ad hominem fallacy. Attack the man rather than the argument. Your argument being a helicopter's blocked by a horizon, and now you're attacking me, the man. Another logical fallacy.
I confess to that. What more do you want me to do? What more do you want me to do?
Nothing. I don't want you to do anything. I want you to shut the fuck up. But it doesn't seem to matter how many times I try and take apart your complete horse shit that you think has come from a meme. That would be me, not a meme, mate. A guy ripping you a new asshole. You refuse to shut the fuck up. You constantly Fundy mute me. So what do I want? I want you to sit down and shut the fuck up. How about that? Can you do that? You globe-believing retard?
So is this what you?
So you can't sit down and shut up. So what I want's irrelevant because you're a globe-believing chanting bastard who won't shut up.
Okay. I don't believe you're just.
So shut up, you stupid idiot. No, you want to chant through me. I know. People share their pain with me all the time. They get to the point where they're welcome to Flat Earth and they say, no, I want to perceive it as a club that I don't want to join. Yeah, we know. Yeah, your path is anti-Flat Earth from here on out. Working out ways of getting back a physical geometric sphere edge to block things in the distance, even though you've already conceded it doesn't exist. Yeah, we know what you need. You need to chant through me. You're all the same.
Are you done?
What, on my show berating you, the clown? No, I've told you that. You've already asked that, and I've answered. No, I could do this all day. I do it for a living. I do it daily. And that would be to berate clowns like you upon concession who ask if I'm done. No, I will continually point out that for Earth to be a sphere, it'd need Earth curve. You've claimed it's the horizon blocking a helicopter. I've ripped it to shreds. And you want to ask if I'm done? Yeah, I could destroy the global day, mate. You want to ask me again? Ask if I'm a meme. You dumb shit.
Disrespectful brat.
How am I disrespecting? How am I disrespecting him? I haven't sworn at him once. I confess to what I said.
Different things. Disrespectful on. And let me tell you, this is my show, hun. The first comment you said and how
Also, it's your
disrespectful
show.
you were. and your attitude, I would have kicked you off my show in a second. You're lucky this man even gives you airtime. Have some respect for
True.
people. I'm not
What do you
even
what do you
freaking
mean?
playing around because I feel disrespected that you're disrespecting him in the manner that you are. And then you want to talk about us being on mute. I'm on mute because I have respect. Something you need to learn. Okay? Anyway,
No,
sorry, Nathan.
why would I respect someone that?
Why would you respect a flat earther that's just ripped you a new asshole? Yeah, why indeed? You fucking retard. Yeah, because you're an arrogant prick who has decided that we're stupid. Therefore, why would we get any respect? Yeah, I understand. I've dealt with it for years. So when I take great pleasure in ripping you a new asshole, pointing out how fucking stupid you are, I will berate you, I will tell you off, and I'll talk down to you like the dumb twat that you are.
Okay.
Good. I'm glad you accept that you will be berated by the person more intelligent than yourself. So when you feel that you don't deserve respect, you do. You're an idiot. You're being educated and you should be grateful. As is being pointed out to you, you should be thankful, where in fact you're asking me if I'm done. What, done educating you, dumbass? No, that's an eternal job that will never end. People like you will be forever thick. And no matter how much I attempt to educate your dumbass, you'll merely ask if I'm finished when you've interrupted me.
I have a question for him.
No, look, when I ask if you're done, I don't mean to come off disrespectful if you're that sensitive. I'm sorry.
Really, when I've asked you to shut the fuck, sit down and put yourself on mute about 14 times, not being disrespectful, yeah, I've told you to shut up, it's my show, and I want you to shut up, you're the dumbest person here. You've offered a response, conceded it, and now you want to babble on with your next crap that we'll have to take apart, with you interrupting and asking if we're done. Yeah, we know you're being disrespectful. You're just a lying piece of shit who is now trying to justify your abject disrespect of us.
It's double standards. Nice one.
You're the one clutching your pearls because he swore. You're a little bitch.
No, he said I'm not disrespecting him. I didn't know he's that sensitive. That's disrespectful.
To me, I don't
Right
need
there.
I don't need you to respect me. I never asked for your respect.
Sorry, I don't respect you, you complete fucking clown. You think I have an ounce of respect for you? I'm talking down to you, you dumb shit. You think I respect you? Hello, I took a giant shit on your argument and I'm now calling you a fuckwit. You think that's respect? Oh my god, you're thicker than I thought. I don't respect you. In fact, I'm overtly disrespecting you. Do you understand what's happening? You're being overtly disrespected by the person who has ripped your argument to pieces, demonstrating how stupid you are. That's not respect. Then you question whether or not you should give me respect. Yeah, I don't want it. I don't care if you respect me, because I'm in a position to disrespect you based on your abject stupidity. Do you understand me, clown?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I know that. You're thick. Yeah, that's another overt disrespect remark to you. Thick. Even when you're being berated and talked down to by someone clearly more intelligent than you, you don't realise it's even happening and question whether or not you owe somebody respect, you gamma prick. Yeah, it's all about whether or not you're getting the respect here. Nobody gives two shits. We don't know who you are. We don't know your name. We have zero respect for you, globe-believing clown.
You've been shown you have no geometric horizon. Earth is not a sphere, but you still believe you're living on a ball. That's amazing.
No, I've confessed to the documentary and what my claim was to be wrong. Then I asked another question because my claim was based on something that was already proven fake. I didn't know that. I was educated on that by Nathan and someone else who sent me a message proving that it was wrong, and I confessed to that. And then he just keeps going on about saying just with swear words and using his facade and all this stuff. But all I've been trying.
Sorry, that's an ad hominem attack. So I'm using a facade. No, I had an argument. If Earth's sphere radius 3959, every distance to the geometric horizon can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Distance in the black swan to the horizon beyond the geometric limitations of a sphere radius 3959. That's my argument. What you talking about, this facade?
I'm saying the way you speak.
Sorry, my accent? That's not a facade, and who gives a shit about how I speak? I speak very disrespectfully to people like you, who want to move on the subject, even though everyone around them saying, why is it that you want to move on in your globe belief that's already been ripped to pieces? Why would you want to do that? We want to dwell on this.
What do you think we're living on?
And you just said you don't care about the mass. You better
No,
care about the mass if you're going to go over here and try to defend the
I've
globe.
I've made it clear from the start that I don't have enough knowledge about the math behind the Earth's spherical shape or flat shape, right? I don't have.
I get it. So you're an ignorant fuckwit who thought he could stroll into a flat Earth server and assume we're all memes. Yeah, you're the most ignorant person here, my friend. We know. The fact that you now realise and can verbalise just how ignorant you are.
You wouldn't listen.
So why are you jabbering through me? You've just explained, yet you don't know your own fucking argument. We know.
And I know as well.
Yeah, good. So maybe you should sit down and shut up?
Yeah, then why do you have attitude? If you
Yeah, dumb shit. Sit down, put yourself on mute. Don't demand that you're going to get the next question answered. You're the dumbest person here.
I never demanded it.
Oh, right, so we're going to move on to eclipses and you're not going to go on mute. That's what you've told me.
I can. I can go on mute. Do you want me to?
Yeah, good lad.
Go on mute and
Good lad. Pop yourself on mute. There's a good lad.
Go ahead.
Good lad. Right, now we can talk about how thick you are. Not to you, about you. Totally disrespecting you. We don't want your input. While you're here, we're going to talk about how stupid you are. Oh, and he's gone on server deafen. Doesn't want to listen to how stupid he is without interruption now, does he? Yeah, because it's humiliating, ladies and gentlemen. That's why he's gone on server deafen. He couldn't bear to listen to just how big a fuckwit he was. No, he won't listen to that. That in itself is disrespectful. Yeah? Bye-bye, clown. While we discuss how stupid you are to assume a horizon's blocking a helicopter because National Geographic told you. Basically, you saw it on the telly, making you a complete cuck to the telly.
You know, the Modus Tollens destroyed the geometry. The reason I brought up the modus potens is because of the response to it. You know, like the only thing you can measure is that it's flat. Now, if you're going to assert it curves outside of what you can measure, that's just crazy.
I think this guy is actually not a real glober. I think he's an anti-flat earther acting like he's a glober. Because any serious glober would not be saying ridiculous things as like, oh yeah, I admit we have no Earth curvature. But
Exactly.
it's still a globe. It's still a globe. That sounds like an anti-flat earther to
Nah,
me.
that's a total normie. Do you think an anti-flat earther who's been in this arena for any significant period of time would come in and say, well, basically, I don't really understand the maths of a globe, therefore I'm not in the best position to argue? Not at all. That's nothing that we'd hear out of an anti-flat earther. I absolutely know the maths. While I deny a geometric horizon, I understand the maths implicitly. And now I'm going to deny it and tell you how I deny it. With a refracted curve that's bent to the tangent point. You know, they'll know all about the maths. To come in and say ignorance, no, I don't understand the maths, that's a newbie.
I don't know, man. I think he's acting it. Because he does roll out the typical responses that I associate with anti-flat earthers, even though he's acting like he's ignorant about it. I don't know.
That's why I said that is his automatic step. You know, he went to anti-flat Earth as a response, and that's what all globers will become if they want to remain globers. They have to be anti-flat earthers. That's why I said the modus ponens to an anti-flat earther. Then they have to deny measurements to keep it.
The transition was never there. Once he conceded the way he did, the next transition should have been, okay, so what is it that I'm observing when I see bottom-up obstruction? What can you help me out here? Since the Earth curve isn't doing it, what can be causing this optical imagery?
That is what he did. That is what he
decided
did. Hold on. That is what he did. He said, well, what causes this phenomena? Logically, the step that you're saying he should have taken, he did take. I just said, nah, I'm not going to sit here and explain that to you. If you're making a positive claim that it's a physical geometric sphere edge blocking a helicopter, I'll just rip that to shreds and walk away laughing. What's that? I've got to tell you what I've learned over 5 years? When you're an arrogant prick asking me if I'm done? I should tell you that, should I? No. I'd just take a dump on your claim and laugh at you and be totally disrespectful. Not explain your question about what does cause it then. Well, that's a very interesting question you can ask as a flat earther.
That's not what I meant. You misunderstand what I'm saying. I saw what you did, and I saw where he transitioned to the eclipse. That's why you did what you did, because he's disingenuous. If he was honest, I would answer the next question if he hadn't gone to the eclipse, but he already went there. I'm saying if he could rewrite the whole thing again, he just had his curve taken away, so it's no longer a sphere. But he still says, okay, the phenomena of things disappearing bottom up still exists, and it must be optical because it's not a sphere edge anymore. He didn't go that direction. He went to eclipses. That's why you didn't answer him, because he didn't really.
Because
he still thinks he's not a sphere.
Hold on. He did go that direction because he conceded things go into the horizon and not behind it.
I understand. No, I understand. But the way his behavior was, he just wanted to get off this subject with a quick concession without really having all the ramifications of what it meant. And that wasn't going to be allowed. And I'm glad it wasn't allowed, because you just can't go after your edge is taken away, the curve. And he even admitted the horizon is where Earth curvature starts, which we can't even get ballers to do anymore. So he admitted it. Then he lost it. And he said, okay, how about eclipses? No.
Well, that's what I said. I said, after your geometric horizon is taken away and there's no Earth curve, you still think you're on a sphere.
That was a prime example of how chat skanks are made. Guy had nothing, gets destroyed, now he's gonna be in chat talking a bunch of crap.
Yeah, but that's just normie behavior, though, isn't it? You know, most people react that way.
I think so. Especially if he's found his way here. He's not found his way here by accident, so he's obviously on that path already. You can't just say, oh, I just happened to stumble into flat earth debate, science versus pseudoscience Discord forum and go, is flat earth real? Yeah, right.
Yeah, the first thing he said was, is this a joke, basically? Are you guys here as a joke? That was the first thing he said.
Yeah, but he was disingenuous. He knows exactly what this is.
Well, most anti-flat earthers, like when they say that Nathan's actually a glober and he's just lying about it or whatever, they have to believe that, because when they come at him, they get, stomped. So he's obviously smarter than them about this subject. So they know it's a globe. So he has to be lying by default to them because it can't be flat in their mind.
Yeah, he's in it for the money.
Yeah, I'm disingenuous. I've got a facade. And a Modus Toland's argument about Earth being a sphere radius 3959 and the geometric limitation of that sphere being breached in the Black Swan. Meanwhile, my accent and my facade and my wanting the money. Yeah, okay, whatever. Smash the super chat, by the way.
I'm just saying that, like, where they're at in trying to understand this subject, they think they know something, and they think they know that it's a ball, and they have to wrap their head around it some way. So that's the only way they can go and try to hang on to that idea.
Indeed. I think that's probably going to be my opportunity to round out this after show. So with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.